Hello, welcome to the very first Scientific Baits podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be chatting to one of the anglers that uses our bait, Matt Kirkham. I've known Matt for quite a long time now. Known him since about 2006, but I knew about his fishing before then because he was fishing a few of the local waters that I knew about. Matt's probably been using our bait now for about, I think it's since 2019, I think. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Matt.
All right, Dean.
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. You'll have to bear with me on this one, mate, being the first one. Could be a few mishaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll just fire straight off now. We'll just have a little bit of a chat about a few historic things and that. So just for the benefit of the listeners, how long have you actually been fishing for, Matt?
Well, the total fishing probably over 30 years and near enough 30 years just for carp.
So when did you actually start carp fishing then? Early 90s?
Yeah, it all took place about 91, 92 down the overflow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna move on to that because obviously I know a bit about your fishing history. So yeah, I mean, I was pretty similar. I think I'm a year older than you, aren't I? Or 2 years older than you.
I'm 43 now.
Oh, are you? Yeah, I'm a bit older than you now. I'm 48 this year. I started carping. Well, I caught my first carp in 1984, but I would say I didn't really start going fishing targeting carp until 1988. But that's enough for me now. So is that the first water that you actually went on targeting carp? Then the overflow.
Sort of was the overflow and the Lido mainly for carp, where you'd class it as just solely carp.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll have a little chat just about the overflow at first because it's quite a famous water, really, in Stoke-on-Trent, isn't it? Because
definitely, yeah.
I mean, I can remember fishing the overflow when I was a kid. I'd have been about 12, 13, and I know there wasn't that many carp in there then, but I also know it had got some big fish in, really, hadn't it? It was doing 20 pounders in the 80s, wasn't it? Which were big fish around here then, weren't they?
Yeah. 80s, mid 90s, I know 92, 93, I think it was doing them to about 23, 24 pound when you actually think of the time back then in the area. Still today, yeah, it is a big carp, but not on the scale as back then.
Well, no, I mean, people can't get a grasp of it who haven't been carp fishing that long. That a mate of mine, Steve Hurst, he had his first 20 out of the overflow in 1986 on New Year's Eve, and that was like a massive deal then. That was.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, 20s. I can remember when I first got in Wedgwoods, when I first got on the Wedgwood Estate Lake in 1995. It was like you'd won the lottery because there was quite a few 20s in there, and everybody, even still then, by 1995, a lot of people were after the ticket for Wedgwoods that gives people some indication of just how big a fish a 20 was in this area that long ago.
Yeah. I can remember 95, I just left school and I was standing on the bridge at Wedgwood looking at these carp 20 pounders and thinking, I'd love to get a ticket for you.
Yeah, I mean, I got in 95. And it was still a good water then, but I reckon I may well have missed the peak of it by a couple of years. But it was still an exceptional water. But yeah, I mean, the overflow is a bit of a mad place, isn't it? When you actually consider where it is, next to an incinerator, next to the canal, on the back end of an estate. But yeah, I mean, but I can remember going down the overflow with my dad when I was probably about 12, 13.
Yeah,
I can remember seeing the odd carp jump, and you used to see the odd. I mean, that'd have been about 86, around about the time when Ersty caught that 20. And I was seeing the odd angler bivvied up on there, and it certainly wasn't a runs water. I don't think there was that many carp in there back then.
No, there wasn't a great deal carp in, I don't think. And I think what it made up for, the size of them, not saying they were all like £20, but it was more, there was quite a few what I caught sort of around the 18, 19, £20 mark.
Mm, mm.
Like we've just said, it was real big fish back then.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different world now, and it's totally different world.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
so how long did you fish the overflow for then?
Well, it was sort of around about 92-ish. I was fishing with my dad. I was only young then. And it was really 93, 94, probably 14, 15 then. And I
So
thought,
so you started quite young. I mean, I was 14 when I proper was targeting carp, but it was just on a little farm pond just up the road from the house, Barlaston.
yeah,
But it's had plenty of carp in, so we were actually setting a stall out to catch carp, you know.
yeah,
But it wasn't really for me. It wasn't really boilies and buzzers. At first, it was more bread, cheese, luncheon
yeah.
meat, you know, floaters and stuff, floating bread. Um, but yeah. So that was my early targeting carp. I mean, did you just go straight in with the buzzers and the
Well,
bolt
no,
rigs
not
and
at first.
stuff?
No, not at first. Because I was still young and that. So it was sort of ledger rods, if you understand me. Because I
Yeah,
used to think like float rod, a ledger rod and that. And it sort of progressed then.
yeah.
It was sort of one Christmas time. That's what I wanted for Christmas: two carp rods, the alarms, and that. Uh, which back then it's different. It's different than today. You can pick tackle up like a lot easier, a lot cheaper. So
Yeah, I
I got
mean
that.
the advances in tackle now is phenomenal, isn't it? When you go back to them years,
Yeah,
I mean
yeah,
you don't even have to pay a lot of money now, do you? And you can have a reasonably good carp setup, can't you?
yeah. That's how it's all advanced. Like we were saying, fish sizes are advanced, tackle everything, baits advanced, different.
Yeah,
It was sort of at the time, bait wise, it was we were buying, me and my friend, the Richworth 50/50 base mix.
yeah.
We were grinding trout pallet up, putting that in it, which we believe then we called it a fish meal boilie.
Well, it was really, yeah. I mean, you know, there's fish meal and trout pellets, and it's
Yeah,
commonly used back then. I never actually made any boilies like that, me, in the early days, but it was pretty
mm,
common. That was, yeah, using trout pellets.
yeah, and it was all new, and we brought Richworth flavourings, the Kevin Maddox flavours we were putting in, Tutti Frutti, and to be honest, we did quite well. It was a new thing. We didn't know the air rig then, the knotless knot air rig, and it was a bloke named Steve Lambert who showed me this knotless knot.
Lambert,
Like,
yeah, Lambert used the bay leaf now on Trenton.
yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
He
It,
showed
it
me a knotless knot.
it's funny. It's funny you should say, you know, about the knotless knots because the first water that I actually went on using air rigs. Well, there was two waters when I started using air rigs.
Yeah,
One was another farm pond just outside Utoxeter, Church Lee, and that had some doubles in, so they were good fish to us then.
yeah, yeah,
And my first air rigs, I didn't know the knotless knot the same as you, so all I used to do is I used to tie. It would have been an half blood knot. And I used to get the tag end off the knot and pass it
yeah,
back through the eye and pull it out, and that was my air rig, and that
yeah,
was the early air rig for me. I didn't get shown the knotless knot until I think it was about 95 when I first started on wedges. Or yeah, I think it was.
yeah,
But the early air rig for me was just like a bit like the original air rig. It was just a piece of line, a continuation of the knot. And I used to use that on Trenton with the luncheon meat and Churchley, and then I
yeah.
discovered Pepper Army because sometimes the luncheon meat
That,
it'd come off once it'd come
that's
off on
it.
the
Yeah,
cast.
yeah. Just go through the air, won't it?
Yeah. So once I got this Pepper Army, I thought, oh, this is the business that because it never comes off. So it just used to be one piece on the air and then a few on the stringer. And that was
it,
how I
yeah,
fished Trenton. And I caught quite a lot of fish out of Trenton between 1990 and 92. I mean, I used to bunk off college some days. I mean, I didn't have many days off because I still passed my A levels. but I used to go down to Trenton, yeah, with the Pepper Army. But
yeah,
yeah, so that was what you were doing then with the boilies then. So were you using the air eggs then? Did you say or not?
yeah. We got shown to 'em on there. Me and my friend Scott
Mm.
were fishing, and it was Steve Lambert, and we were sort of before he shown us that we were like you say we were tying a blood knot or a 16 granny. Then we were like tying a piece of line, anything on it. It looked silly, and we didn't catch like. And then I think it was Partridge at the time made a boilie hook with like a little air dangling down with a piece of plastic to put your boilie on.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
So we brought some of them, but then Steve Lambert shown us this knotless knot, and that was a way forward. We were looking at it thinking, oh, it won't come undone, will it? And all this, and that,
Yeah.
and it was a way forward. And I just started catching. I caught my first 20 in 1994 out of there.
Yeah. So you'd only been how old then?
So in 94, I think I was about 14, maybe bordering 15.
Yeah. So that was a real big fish. That wanted to be, especially at that age, around here, in
Yeah,
Stoke-on-Trent. That was a good fish. I mean, I'll be
that's
honest with you though, I never had any problems with catching with that early air rig that I used to use. Just a piece of line going back through the eye. It caught me fish, and
oh yeah,
I mean I can remember. I mean we're supposed to be talking about your fishing, but we'll we'll put a bit of mine in as well. I mean I can remember in 1994. Me and one of my mates, Craig Cartledge, we got the caravan for a week on Ort Lake, and
yeah,
I don't know what rigs he was using. He might have known about the knotless knot, because he knew a few good anglers. He was in with
yeah,
Brett. He was in with Brett Bullock because he was going out with his
yeah.
cousin.
That's it. Yeah,
So he might have known the knotless knot then, but I was still using that air rig, and we had a good week, and I was using boilies then as well. And like I say, I wasn't getting. In fact, I don't think I had any hook pulls.
yeah.
And I was just using the brown Drennan Dacron. I was.
Yeah, because that was sort of that was what was in back then.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you used it, didn't you?
Yeah, I used the black Dacron. I had some of the brown Dacron. Then I moved up, advanced up to the was it the Drennan Super Silk?
Yeah, that was one. Yeah, what they did. Yeah,
That was sort of the next level up. Wanted sort of the
yeah.
new
It was a
thing.
bit more of a thinner, more supple braid,
That's
wasn't
it.
it?
Yeah, but still today though, just on about the Dacron. Still today, probably underrated. Probably if you went round a lake now, probably nobody would be using Dacron.
Oh yeah, and it'll still catch, won't it? It'll still catch.
Yeah, definitely. I
You
think
know.
if it's still on par with like years ago, because it's heavy and it's
Yeah,
absorbed a lot of water.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
But
it's funny, isn't it, how things change and progress, and everyone thinks you need. At one time, everyone thought you needed a real soft hook length, but they couldn't feel in the mouth, and then you look at things now, and everyone's using 25-pound D rigs made out of
yeah,
fluorocarbon, stiff as
yeah,
anything.
that's it. Yeah,
And it just shows you how everything comes full circle. But
yeah.
yeah, I
And
used. Go on, mate. Sorry.
I think just saying that, Dean, I think that the thing is, as long as we've been caught fishing, w- we've got that knowledge of back then what other people might not have. Or I know everyone can't help when they're born or when they go fishing and that, but there's that knowledge back then, like maybe, oh yeah, do a try Dacron. No one else uses it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. The only reason I started using the Dacron is, my dad's always worked away, so he was been a contractor. I mean, he's retired now, and
Yeah,
I think he bought a load of stuff off one of the blokes who was working with. It was a load of carp stuff. I mean, I had one carp rod because I was always getting to be a carp angler ever since the day I saw that 20-pounder on Ort Lake when I was
yeah,
about I'd only been about 80. It had been about 82, and I saw somebody catch a 20.
Yeah,
So I'd already made my mind up then I was going to catch a big carp.
yeah,
And he bought all this gear off this bloke, and it was a real mix and match job. There was like about 3 different carp rods, 2 or 3 different reels. And there was a load of terminal tackle, and there's a spool of that Dacron in there. And I thought, oh, I'll start using that. And I tell you what, it lasted me about 2 years, that spool of Dacron did.
yeah. That's it then. It was different back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And but now just going back to the overflow and that we were using Dren and super specialist hooks.
Yeah,
With,
that's what I used to use, mate. I used them all the time, right up
yeah,
until when I started fishing wedges. And I think the first year that I fished wedges, 95, I still used those hooks. I've still got some in my box now.
yeah, brilliant. And when you think, I think they brought the Continental. Can you remember the
Yeah, yeah.
Continental?
I used them. I used them the following year. Them
Yeah,
Continentals. I started playing around with a few different hooks. I mean, the Continental was a lot stronger, wasn't it? But it had the outturned
yeah,
eye, didn't it?
that was it. Yeah,
It wasn't a straight eye, so you had to play around with your rigs a bit. For
that's the one. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
But
they also brought a boilie hook out, if you remember that as well.
yeah, they had the boil hook, and then I used the
Yeah,
star points as well. I mean, them star points were super sharp, but I
sharp,
bent some of them. I bent some of them. I bent some of them out. They were a bit thinner in the wire, weren't they? The star points.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
come in a little box, didn't they?
That's it. Yeah, little box, little see-through box, same as the Continentals did as well in that
Yeah,
plastic
that's
box.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, but I did use them Continentals, and I had some good fish on them. Well, I say good fish, 20s, out of wedges. But I think I only used them on my pop-up rigs, and I think I changed over to like a wide gape Fox style hook for my bottom bait rigs.
yeah,
Yeah, but that said, though, sometimes I bet you used to do this as well. Sometimes my rig would be the same for a pop up or a bottom bait. I'd just put a split shot on the hook length.
definitely.
You know,
And yeah, today I know there's that many different rigs out, and there's good pop-up rigs now. But I think sometimes, like you've just said, even today, just the same rig with a split shot on.
yeah, yeah.
I
But
can't. I know there's better rigs, 360 rigs and that. What canoe any angle and that, but I think if they're having it, they're having it.
well, the most important thing, anyway, is a sharp hook in it.
Yeah, that's it. Definitely.
I mean, that was the good thing about them Dren and super specialists. They weren't the strongest hook in the wheel because of the wire gauge. Although that said, in a size 6, I don't think I ever bent one in the 6s. I might have bent one of the 4s out because they're a bit bigger.
Bit bigger, yeah.
They were always sharp, weren't they? Them hooks were always sharp straight out the packet.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you actually go back and think what you actually did in the 90s and actually what you do now. And I think today's fishing, there's too many rigs, or people believe they've got to use this, they've got to use that,
Yeah.
they've got to use this bait, they've got to use that.
Mm.
Or going back to the 90s, yeah, I think it was a good, like you were a bit more lucky than me, more the 80s, probably harder for carp fishing, but it was a good era, the 90s, for it be carp fishing.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, my first couple of years, like I say, from 88 to 90, it was just farm ponds, but you were still learning though, because they were still carp.
Yeah.
You were catching them, and like baits like cheese, they've forgotten baits. But you think about
Yeah.
cheese. I mean, cheese powder's pretty common ingredient, and well, not that common, but it's used in boilies. And cheese has got everything what you want. It's oily, it's got milk in, casein. I mean, I've spoke about the opioid peptide thing, so it's got volatile fatty acids in it. Cheese has because it smells. I mean, it was a blinding bait. Cheese. It really was a cracking bait.
Yeah, and no one uses it today, do they?
No, I mean, like I say, you might get the odd boilie what's got cheese powder in it. But that cheese was a brilliant bait. I mean, it was very coloured water on the lake where we used to use it. Probably because there was that many carp in there, to be honest with you. But the cheese was a cracker. In fact, it was probably the best bait on there. The cheese was.
Yeah.
You know, we did use corn and stuff, and other lads used luncheon meat, and a couple of lads used like the old specials, paste and stuff. But you couldn't beat that cheese or the bread on the top. But then, like I say, I started on that other place, Churchley, and
Yeah.
we used to use a bit of meat on there, sweet corn, but we're catching the odd double, see, so them were good fish to us then.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're catching the odd 10, 11, 12. I think the biggest one we had was a 13-pounder, and I caught that on my very first day when I ever fished it. I had it on luncheon meat on the opening day of the season in 1991, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 91.
Because back then, you're talking double figure carp, 10, 12, 13 pounders. They were specimen sized fish then.
Oh yeah, they were good fish to us. Like they were
Yeah.
good fish, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think before I had that 13-pounder out of there, I think I'd had one double out of Auxton because that was where I had my first double from. That was 11-pound common in 1990. Then I think I'd caught one double figure common out of Trentham. I had that on Pepper Army first time I used it on there. And then I think that might have been it. So then I went on that Churchley and I was float fishing luncheon meat in the margins under a tree. And I had this 13-pounder. I mean, I wasn't even using stepped up gear or anything. I was using a float rod. But same again, you were learning and stuff. And then so now and again on there, I'd put a bolt rig out, I'd put an air rig out, and I'd have the odd one on a bit of meat or that. But you know, it was a lot of stalking fishing, like stealthy, chucking bits of bread at them, or free lining a bit of meat or sweet corn or whatever. But it's all learning watercraft, isn't it? You know, it's all learning.
You're learning. And you're younger, so you're keen, and you take everything in, don't you, more?
Yeah. I mean, like Trentham, that was the first place that I went, and I took a rod and a bite along with me every time I went. That was the first place that I went and did that. And it, you know, as you know, it's a big lake. It's 70 acres. But I just used to go on a racer with two rods strapped to the frame, a little rucksack. No unhooking mat, like, because people weren't bothered about unhooking mats then.
That's it, yeah.
And a net, and that was it. And I started having them on luncheon meat. I'd already caught carp out of there on the float. But then I started ledgering for them, and most of them, I mean, I've got pictures. The vast majority of them were singles. I think between 1990 and 92, I only caught two doubles out of there. There was bigger fish in that more experienced anglers were probably catching, but I mean, I wasn't night fishing it. But yeah, I was catching plenty. I was catching plenty of them little commons and that, and the mirrors.
Yeah.
So did you so in them couple of years that you fished the overflow, then did I have heard you say you used tiger nuts on there as well?
Yeah, tiger nuts, and I found them awesome. And it was Steve Lambert again. He told me, obviously, you soak them, you boiled them, let them soak, and he told me brown sugar. So me and my mate Scott got brown sugar, soaked them there, and they just went like thick treacle.
Yeah.
And I still to the day, I've got all the fish photographed what we caught from there. We caught a lot of fish, probably the majority what was in there.
Yeah.
And I found tigers. Yeah, it was. You didn't need a lot of them. We just fished like a small handful.
Yeah.
And I think I caught, off the top of my head, 4, maybe 5 20s out of there. I think 3 were on tigers. So it just shows what
how many 20s did you say you had out there? About 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah. So do you reckon that was it? That's all there was, 4 or 5 20s, or was it a bit like Wedgwoods where you had a few what were hovering round it? So depending on what time of the year you caught them.
I had a few. I had two different 1914s, so maybe they were 20s.
Yeah, they'd have been 20s on the right day, wouldn't they?
And I had a 19.8.
Yeah.
So that could be another one.
Yeah, I mean, people don't appreciate. I mean, that back then that was a good stock, wasn't it? So a lake with half a dozen 20s in.
Yeah, because you're talking then This is a lot of lakes didn't even have a £30 carp in.
Oh yeah, I mean, Wedgwood's is the exception, wasn't it? I mean, it had done. I think it had done that big one that was carrying
Was that
spawn. What was £39? I think that
Yeah,
was. I think that was early 90s. I think it had done another 30 that was carrying spawn. But I think it had done a couple of I-20s, 28, 29 different fish, right time of the year, November catches, when they're at good weights.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, there was very few lakes round this neck of the woods where you got a chance of catching a 30 for
no,
what I can remember. I mean, even Trentham, there was big fish stocked in there, but I never knew of anything bigger than 27 and a half getting caught out there up until
yeah,
about 1996, 97.
yeah.
You know, like I say, a big 20, if you caught it 25 plus, it was a monster, wasn't it, round here?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And you saw to them, we were fishing the overflow, then we moved across to the Lido, just across in Fenton then.
Yeah, I mean, I never spoke to you about this before. What was the history of them fish in the Lido? Because they came from everywhere, didn't they?
I believe certain stories I heard, because I was only younger, that I'd heard some had come from the overflow, some had come from Talford.
Yeah, and I heard that.
uh,
I heard Trench Pool for a couple of them.
yeah, that's it. But when we fished it, you were talking singles and low doubles for £13.
Yeah, well, I can remember in 1996 when I was getting to grips with Wedgwoods, and I was rolling my own bait then, but I always rolled my own bait anyway. In 1996, I was getting to grips with Wedgwoods. I heard a little rumor about the Lido doing a £20. I don't know how true it was.
Yeah, I believe, Dean, the fish. So I fished it sort of similar time as the overflow as such, like
Yeah,
probably a
yeah.
year after. But I believe probably the end of 96, it did its first 20. Then I know in 97, I fished it. I had two 20s, I did.
Yeah, so the Lido, yeah. So you fished it in 97, had a couple of 20s. So I'd have probably heard two of them once in 96 when I heard about this
Yeah,
20 coming out.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Because I actually went down and I even took some bait. I went down, I had a look at it. I don't sure if I took a marker, I might have done. And I put some bait in and I never ended up getting back. I just couldn't tear myself away from getting wedges. But I went down with some bait, some fish meals, and I put them in.
yeah,
And yeah, that was 96 because I can clearly remember it going down there. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I had some nice fish out of there.
yeah.
And
I'm just going to put the meeting on pause a second, Matt. Hold on a minute,
yeah,
mate. Yeah, so I went, like I said, I went down Lido. So yeah, so you just started fishing there then in 1997, was it then on the
yeah,
Lido?
it was before that, Dean, to be honest. It was sort of nine, sort of similar to the overflow, coming 95, 96 ish.
So
And I did a
were
few,
you fishing both of them at the same time then?
yeah, so as such, yeah, because what we did, we fished the overflow, then we were catching, and we thought, oh, we'll go across to the Lido, which, because we walked back then with all the gear. And when you actually look, they aren't that far actually apart, the overflow and the Lido.
No, they're not really. They're not really across the as the crow flies. They're not that far apart, are they?
Right. And we walked everywhere from Blurton, so it was across the pit, or they were both same distance from our house.
Mm.
And it was they were both daunting places, fish though, for night fish though. It was there wasn't one better than the other. They were strange places to fish at
Mm.
night. For some reason, it just attracted strange people.
Yeah, well, it's yeah. I mean, in that short period that I fished the Lido, you'd see a few characters on there during the hours of darkness. Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
would. Yeah,
and but no, the fishing on there that was that was sort of boilie fishing we did, sort of the same 50-50 Richworth, but we were buying some Richworth ready-mades then
Oh right,
as well.
what were you on there then?
The wild cherry, if you can remember them.
Yeah, I can remember him. Yeah, never used them. Well, I very rarely used any bait from the shop, but no, I have used. I have used the odd shop bought bait, but don't think I ever used any. Oh, I did. I think I bought some. I think they were banana Esther Richworth. I might have bought a bag of them once. Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like that, and we were catching. We found some silty because it was quite a lot of silty, but
Yeah, the
we
Lido.
found,
Yeah, Lido. There's some hard patches in there, aren't there?
yeah, we did find. To be honest, there was a stream what fed in from the road, and sort of when we fished it, you couldn't fish across from that side. So we fished it from the opposite bank, sort of casting maybe
Oh,
it
that
again.
stream that comes in on the railway
Yeah,
bank.
that's the one. Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
back
Oh,
then,
couldn't you fish across? Couldn't you fish that side then?
no, there was no swims. Sort of, they were just like little square
Oh,
sort
I'm
of.
with you. I'm with you. The path was there, wasn't it? Though the path was
Yeah,
round it there.
yeah, but it was overgrown. The path was,
Mm.
and the stream was more of a stream then, so it was actually flowing water in as such, and not far from where the stream come in, it was going hard because of
Mm.
the current, and we were catching them. If you could cast across, we're using these 3 ounce rich with capsule leads, the
Oh
ones
yeah,
what,
the attractor lads.
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So you used to fill up, get a syringe, fill some flavour up, and put that in, and the band round, and we used to cast them as far as we could, and we could reach there.
Yeah, it was about, to be thoughts, I reckon that's probably from the other bank. It's probably about an 80-yard chuck, isn't it?
That's it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which probably back then, and that might not sound a lot now, but if you were only using a 2.5 pound test curve rod, that was probably a maximum casting distance, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a good cast then.
Yeah, it'd have been a good cast. Well, you'd only had small bait runners, wouldn't you? Small bait
That's
runners.
it,
And
yeah.
I mean, the first set of cart rods I ever had, I mean, I bought them second hand. I've still got one to this day. I use it for floating fishing. I bet it's only about a pound and 3/4 test curve. And I used to
Yeah.
use it with the smallest Shimano bait runner. Ones with the, I mean, I bet you could only fit that 15-pound big game line that I used to use. I reckon I could only fit about 150 yards of it on the spool.
Yeah. That's how much things advanced again, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it was sort of thingy, yeah. We were using them. They were all black leads back then, weren't they?
Yeah,
They
well,
were
that them Richworth ones, what you're talking about, they were painted black. I can remember they were
yeah,
painted because the paint had
used to
come off them.
flake off. That's
Yeah,
it.
the paint had come off them.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
how things have changed, eh?
I know, yeah. But no, enjoyed the time on there. Photographed all the fish, caught quite a few. Probably about 60 fish from there, carp.
So
Yeah,
didn't you and Keith go back on the Lido though later?
yeah, yeah. Keith might remember the date better than me. I've got it written down. Me and Keith Wright. We just thought we'll go back because I met Keith on there. To be honest, that's where I first met him, and
Yeah, on the Lido. Yeah, because Keith was living in Hanley, wasn't he?
yeah, that's it. I was only young, probably 16 at the time, and he come down. He was into bodybuilding. I thought this great big bloke come down. Like, what who's this? Do you know what I mean? And like, because when you're a kid, like, well, sort of 16, you think you're watching you tackle.
Well, he's a
And
big. He is a big unit though, isn't he, Keith? Anyway, I
yeah,
mean, he might not be very tall, but he's as wide as he is tall, isn't he?
yeah. And that's how I met him. He come down these weightlifting bottoms, and I thought, who on earth's this?
Mm.
I thought he'd come down and do a latest movie or something. And I got to know him then, like, and he was brilliant, sort of. And but going back then, what we did, because I fished a bit with Keith and that, but Yeah, I think it was about 2002. I'd have
Yeah,
to check the
that'll
date.
be about right, mate, because I've got a good memory and I can remember when I first got a bit pally with you and Keith through the forums and
Yeah,
that. I can remember
yeah,
seeing your old pictures and they were like 2002, 2003 from the Lido.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we went back on just doing, it was only the odd night. We were doing just days, just like Friday afternoon, or Keith would have a Friday off work, do a day, or Saturday day. And to be honest, we had a lot of fish, and they were bigger. The fish were they
Yeah.
were we did stories of never being caught, which still back then a £20 common, which was a big fish.
Yeah. I'm just listen, Matt. I'm just gonna have to pause the meeting there, and then we'll
Yeah,
catch up back with this in a minute. All right, pal.
yeah, okay, mate.
So yeah. So you're talking about this common in the Lido, yeah? Carry on
Yeah.
about that then, Matt.
Well, what it was, one good angler had lost a common at the net, what believed to be over £20, and we weren't there. We never saw this. This a few years before then. Heard somebody else exactly the same story, a different person. They'd lost it at the net, so we never knew about any
I
common
mean,
or
I
anything.
mean, I mean, just stop you there a minute. I mean, people don't realise. Just bear in mind because £20 commons in Stoke were proper thin on the ground then, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah,
There just wasn't any. I mean, there was none in Wedgwoods. There was none in Wedgwoods. There's no commons in there whatsoever.
no,
And I know there wasn't. I don't think there was any £20 commons in the overflow, was there?
no.
No.
The couple of small and
Yeah.
singles.
I mean, the only place I'd seen a £20 common in Stoke on Trent get caught then was Trentham. The
Yeah,
first 20 I ever saw get caught from Trentham in 1993 was a £22 common. Bloke named Roy Eddington. It was the same night that I caught the first carp I ever caught out there on a boilie.
yeah,
I had down a ready made. I'd bought some 93, yeah. I think the year before 92, I hadn't even been intending even buy any boilies. I'd gone down Rowley's fishing tackle shop in Dresden, Carlisle Street. Remember it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man, yeah,
I'd gone down there. I think I'd just gone in and get some bits and that, ooks and whatnot. I think the tackle exchange was open then as well. Yeah, it was. But I went in Rowley's and he'd got a basket there with some crafty catcher boilies in, and
yeah,
I think it was like a bargain basket, getting rid of them. And I bought a bag of Peanut Pro and Robin Red ready-made boilies. And I bought them, and God knows how old they were. They could have even been 2 years old when I bought them. And then I used them the following year on on Trentham, and I caught one on them. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll just go back to that common, Dean.
yeah. Go back to that common in Lido, mate. Yeah,
And so we did like this common and that. So I can remember it. It was one Friday evening. It was about 7 o'clock, and Keith come down to me. He wasn't fishing. I'd been on from about dinner time, just for till it went dark, and it was sort of raining on and off. And the rod went, and I picked up. And as I'm playing it, I remember we stood there. Me and Keith said it's that common. We could see it roll anyway. We netted it, and I think it went 19, but we sure it was this one what they said had lost. But later, that sort of spell what we did that fishing on there, it only lasted a couple of months. What we fished on there, I had another common which was just over 19.
yeah. Was one of them that fat one, that
Yeah,
fatter
that
one?
one. Yeah,
Yeah, because in 2005 when I fished the Lido for 6 months, I saw a lad catch a common. It was a fat common. It was about £17, just under 18.
yeah,
And I found it dead. I found the same fish dead about a month later. It was obviously spawn bound. It went even
yeah,
fatter. I found it dead on the
yeah.
railway bank. But that
Right.
year when I fished it, nobody caught. I mean, one of the lads, Charlie, he'd caught that £20 common the year before, and I think he caught it the year before that as well. So it was still like a prized possession in there. It was the only £20 common in there, but It never
Yeah.
came out that year when I fished it.
Yeah, there was some tough fish in there what didn't come out,
Mm.
I believe, or maybe yourself, I don't know, caught some what didn't come out like what other people haven't caught, and you've caught them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't catch loads. I fished it for 6 months. I mean, I did all right on there. My favourite fish actually out of there. I mean, I caught that big and the grey. I know you and Keith had both caught it in around about 2002. You probably caught it early, before that as well. I think you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I had it at 17.
Yeah,
With
the
sort
one
of,
that it ended up going out. It ended up going out 20s in the end, didn't it?
yeah,
But I caught that year. But I caught another one, and it's same again. I caught that one that's supposed to be the biggest one, and I caught one bigger. I caught one at 23 something, and that was my favourite fish in there. It was like a short, deep-bodied mirror with a little tail. It was a proper old fish. It was like a breeze block, and it had a load of little scales on it.
yeah,
We called it one bob because it had one bob missing, but I think they gave it another name after that. To be honest with you.
yeah. But no, it's sort of around that era that there wasn't these big fish. They were hard to come by.
Oh yeah, twenties were
Yeah,
your big fish, weren't they? So
yeah,
what?
oh
So
yeah.
what? So what were you using by this stage then? What bait were you using now then?
So I've jumped a bit now, sort of 2000 and 2003.
Well,
So I
go
was,
back a bit then, because I know you've got a bit more what you can talk about. Late
yeah.
nineties, is it?
Yeah. So if I say about 97 now,
Yeah.
I fished Trenton.
Fish were at Trenton.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
a season on Trenton. Uh, to be honest, I've got the photos. I caught quite a lot of fish. I was probably 4 or 5 a night,
Yeah.
but the biggest ever had, I think, was about 18, sort of a ghosty common.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I've dig my photos out. You might recognise some of the fish from.
I mean that's another thing with Trenton. I mean, I'm sure people don't believe me when I say that I had days on there between 1992. I had day sessions going down on a bike. I had days where I had more than 10 runs.
Yeah, I could believe it.
You
Yeah,
know, I don't think people believe it because it's different water now. But I
yeah.
mean, whether or not it was because the fish are a bit more naive, because you would blank. I mean, you had to make sure you're on the fish.
Oh
But
yeah,
I've had
definitely.
days
Yeah,
on there using the luncheon meat and the pepper army where I've had like more than 10 bites in a day. I mean, big hits do happen on there now, but I mean, 10 fish in a season is probably above average season on there now.
yeah.
But I think
And
with Trenton, mate, I think when you could drive round there, I think a few fish got pinched because you could drive your
that's it.
car around there.
Yeah.
I think they definitely probably had a fish kill. I've heard various stories, but I mean, I never even set foot on Trenton between 1996 and 2011. I never even set foot on there. So for 15 years, I never even fished it. It just gone completely off my radar completely.
Yeah. It sort of, I fished it. It was sort of, I was able to drive then. So it was sort of a first water where I could drive to,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a great lake, isn't it? But
Yeah,
like you say, you caught quite a few fish and you never had a 20. I mean, that
yeah,
that that was that was Trentham then. You know, I lost some big fish on there, but
yeah.
a 20 was rare. I mean, I know quite a few people who fished Trentham in the 90s and never caught a 20 and then went back, say 10 years later, and they couldn't believe how many more 20s there was in there, because obviously, I mean, they're proper old, slow growing fish, aren't they, in there?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But no, I enjoyed it on there. Then from there, Dean, I think it was about 97, definitely 97 going into 98. Heard of a syndicate, Hilton.
Yeah, that's it.
Uh,
That's what I was thinking about, yeah.
Brian Garner's. Someone told me where it was, like up the
So,
A50.
so just like set the scene here then. So by this stage, you've been carp fishing since 1992.
Yeah,
So we're now up to like 98, 97.
yeah.
Yeah. So roughly, just for putting it in perspective for people, and I mean, I'll sing your praises here. You've done well on every water you'd fished. How many 20s do you reckon you caught?
by then.
Yeah. Just
So,
to put it in perspective for people how different times are now.
so all the 20s then. Oh, sorry, I had two from the Lido. So you're probably talking 6 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, I mean, it sounds nothing now, doesn't it? But you've got to
Yeah,
bear in mind, you'd probably caught all the 20s out the overflow and the Lido.
yeah, at the time, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that then, like you say, just put it on the scale. I could have 7 tonight, 720s.
Exactly. Yeah. That's it's this is just how much things have changed. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
and when you progress and you go out the area, because there was good
yeah.
waters back then in the country, weren't there? But there wasn't in
Oh,
Stoke.
yeah,
There wasn't many
yeah.
in Stoke.
No, there are like we've just discussed the park lakes or little club waters. There were. It was sort of They were hard waters and the surroundings were hard. It wasn't carp fishing back then was different, wasn't it, Dean?
Oh God, it's changed. The amount it's changed now is phenomenal.
Yeah, you didn't have a bed chair, you had a sun lounger.
Well, I was lucky. I did actually have a bed chair. I
Well,
think
I
I,
had one.
I think I bought my first bed chair in that. I'm pretty sure I bought it. I'll tell you how I bought it, mate, because I was a student. I bought it with my student grant. I had it from Foster's of Birmingham, a JRC bed chair. I think I bought it in 1992 or three.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had my first one, 1995. It was a JRC cocoon, and it
yeah.
was Dolphin were doing them at the time on like a finance. So my mum said she'd buy it, and it come out my pocket money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But no, and that's the thing, just like monkey climbers, like a lot of people probably don't even know what monkey climbers are.
I still use monkey climbers. That first year I was on Wedge was 1995. I used monkey climbers.
Yeah, I was using them on the overflow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to
Mm.
use the Yalla Gardener monkey climbers.
Yeah, I had the orange gardener ones, mine
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
Yeah, but then sort of, I'll just going to 97, definitely going into 98 now, was Brian Garner, Syndicate Hilton.
Yeah, so that was a bit like me when I was going in Wedges. You'd hit the jackpot there,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah. Someone told me about it. You go down the A50, 26 miles, and it's there on your left. So I thought I'll drive down on my own. Pulled down. You could see it then off the A50. I thought
Yeah.
this has got to be it. This nature reserve. Went down, parked up, and people who don't know Hilton, there's like a public part. It's a triple SI water, what the Derbyshire Wildlife Trust can walk around public. Walked down there, and Brian Garner was walking down. I only knew it was him because I'd read about him in books,
Yeah,
watched
because
him on.
Brian was well known, wasn't he? I mean, he was well
Oh
known
yeah,
in the carp fraternity then.
yeah. Tim Paisley, like the Mangrove, the Birch Grove era, and all that.
Mm.
And he was with Ian McMillan.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, and I walks down, and I thought I was probably 17, 18 at the time, and he come walking down. Garner says, "Can I help you?" I said, "Oh, I've just been told about this water." He says, "Yeah, no problem. Have a look round here, and he'll show you around." And because he had to go, and he did. And I thought, went back. He told me where he lived, which was the next street away from where I lived with my mum and dad, and went round, and it was £230 to join. I was working then, so I thought, yeah, I won't get near. Brian told me it had only ever been poached before, so some of the fish could be realistically never been caught. So I went on there. Uh, at the time, I was using Premier baits, aminos off Brian.
Oh, from Brian, yeah, because Brian's always
Yeah,
had his own bait rolled and sold it on, hasn't he?
yeah. So he was giving me the base mix. I was rolling it with
Oh, you were
peach
rolling
flavour.
it, were you? You were rolling it
I
then, were
was
you?
rolling it. Yeah, it was coming in. I can remember in blue bags. It was 10
Yeah.
kilo bag. I rolled a bit of Nod oil at the time. Uh, Peach flavour I was using.
Who's
And
peach were you using? That was the one of the first flavors I used. That was seriously the peach Nutrifuse.
the Premier's
Oh, the peach Malby.
Peach Malby, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we got that, rolled these 18 millers because I had a gardener one of the small tables then, and went up on this Hilton and that, and it was proper old gravel workings then. There was sharp bars, nothing like it is today, what I believe anyway. And fished it, and to be honest, I did well. What come out of there? Some of these fish, got the photos at home. They were big plated mirrors, black fish they were, and you were talking, they were 20-pounders, and you thought, this is something. This is a different world. This is.
So in that first year on there, then, how many 20-pounders do you reckon you caught?
I think I had 8. That was
So basically, you doubled your 20-pounder resume in 12 months. So that just
yeah.
shows you the importance of being on the right waters, doesn't it? For anyone who's
Yeah,
listening, who's only just started carp fishing, it just shows you the importance of being on the right waters.
right water, yeah. And I had this stint on there, and I did have another stint in there, which you know about 2004. But on this time I was fishing it, there was a lot of people getting cut off. You used to get cut off, so you have a fish, and the bars were sharp.
On the bars, yeah.
Yeah. And it
Was the zebra mussels in there, Matt, or no?
I never saw any Dean. No. So I don't know whether it was just the sharpness of the
It's
stone.
probably just the bars, like you say.
Yeah. And what it reminds me of, you'll know, Thingy, a lot of the who haven't been caught fishing long, it reminded me of reading about, can you remember
Airfield, yeah, where they're fishing over the bars, yeah.
Yeah, and it reminded me of that. But no, I went fished there, and I caught one of the biggest fish, 28 and a half out of there.
So that'd have been your PB then, what is?
Yeah, oh yeah. That was the biggest fish I caught.
Yeah. I mean, back then as well, what's this? 98. I mean, that was a real big fish then, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. You're talking 1.5 pounds off a 30-pounder.
Yeah. They're real big fish, yeah.
Yeah. And
was this before any fish had been put in there?
Yeah, this was before this was.
Yeah.
So I joined it for season. I probably fished it 3 or 4 months. That was it. Then Brian sent this letter out. He was going to stock it with some Simmos. At the time, it was a risk we took. Do you know what I mean? Because there was one person on there. He did 2 seasons on there, never caught a fish, and he wasn't the only one.
So, just for the benefit of people who are listening, I mean, I've walked around Hilton a couple of times. It's about 15 acres, isn't it, Hilton?
I think one part's about 15, Dean, and I think the back bay maybe about 7. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, you're wrong, because I've measured it on a map measuring site. I've measured it on one of the apps, mate. It's about 50. It's about 15 acres, Hilton is.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's got the back bay and stuff, so it's split up into, you've got the main water, but it's if you measure it on the map measuring site, it's 15 acres. So it's not a small water, is it?
No.
And how many fish, how many of these originals, which nobody knows how old they were or where they come from or whatever, how many fish do you reckon there was in there then?
Brian believed, because we could only go on what people caught.
Yeah.
So we believe there may be 60 original fish.
Yeah, so for 15 acres, that's not a lot of fish.
No, it was not a lot. But these fish, they were like, you got some, they were sort of ancient looking, like fully scaled, plated.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of them were still going, weren't they, when people fished it who had bait off me as late after as 2011, 2012. You got scaly in there still, and a few others, you know, and they were proper old fish, weren't they?
Yeah, but so at that time, because I later went back on there, but I can talk about that another time if you want me to.
Well, I mean, just try to do everything in more chronological order, like, so just go up to like now 98. You're on Hilton and you've had a good. So how many fish did you actually have out of Hilton that first year, then, Matt?
That first year, it's a guess. I've got it written down and all the photos. I'm guessing between 15 to 20.
Yeah.
definitely 15.
So you did what, 4 months fishing on there?
Yeah. Then I did a session. I can remember going on 1 December. I hadn't been since like the warmer months. And I went on, I can remember I fished what was swim the barbed wire because it was quite unusual. There was quite a few on, probably about 6 on that Friday night. And I fished the barbed wire, it was out of the way, and I had 2 fish.
Yeah, so just pause them in there, because there is something what might shock a few people now. Because I'm going to ask you about your rigs and how you fish.
Yeah.
So let's say, for argument's sake, then you've done this first year at Hilton, which I no stretch of the imagination was an easy water, 60 fish and 15 acres, and you've had say 15 fish, so you've had 25% of the stock, which is pretty good. It's pretty good going, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And now I'm guessing you would have caught all them on bottom baits, wouldn't you? Simple rigs.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
silkworm, you
Yeah.
clown.
Because, I mean, people won't know who are listening to this, but I know how you fish, and it's very rare that you'll ever even use a pop up, isn't it?
I know, yeah.
I think that was Brian getting in your head, wasn't it? With it, because Brian's bottom bait mad, isn't he?
Yeah, he was sort of with Brian, it was sort of wanted food bait.
Yeah. But I mean, even back then though, I mean, you know, when I first started doing a bit of serious carp fishing, if you like, when I got in Wedgwoods, even back then though, I would use pop ups, but there was none of this bright pop up business. It was always one that matched your bait all the time.
That
It was always
yeah.
one that was made out of the paste, either wrapped around a cork ball or a polystyrene ball.
Yeah, there was no
And
fluoros.
yeah, I mean, there's people using fluoros back then, but I don't think I even owned a pot of fluoros or anything. I'd never rolled any fluoros back then.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was sort of then I can't remember the exact amount of fish, but Brian stocked it with some Simo fish, took the risk and that, and sort of those fish progressed. But then I moved off then.
So
We
where did you
sort
go?
of,
So where did you go to next then after fishing Hilton in '98?
so we sort of talking 98, it was going into 99. It was a bit like I was going out at night, that age.
Yeah.
And
So
all.
what? Did the fishing take a bit of a back seat then? Like,
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't so thingy then. So it was a few sort of day tickets, winterly, nothing major there winterly. I think it was Lakemore, Baden Hall, because that was all new. Baden Hall was like nothing more. I know there were only small fish in there, but
yeah. I mean, I fished Baden as early as bloody. I reckon the first time I fished Baden, mate, it wouldn't have been long after I left school. But if you look at it now, there was hardly a tree. There was hardly a tree on some of the lakes,
yeah, that was
and
it.
and
Yeah.
none of them specimen lakes are open. I think they were dug,
Yeah.
but not. I think they were
No,
dug then, but yeah, I mean it was that middle pool, and like you say,
yeah. I think there
um,
were two other pools, weren't there? The other side
yeah,
to the
there's a
middle.
few others. Yeah, like I think that one's
Yeah,
called the dam pool now, but it wasn't called the dam pool then,
yeah.
and yeah, a few others. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was sort of fishing like that. Oh, and I think Winsford Flash.
Oh, you had to go on the Winsford Flash, did you?
Yeah, it was just more of just a bit of day ticketing. I think it was because I wasn't properly into like the fishing sort of. It was a bit like Rob Hughes and Simon Crowe. They did their own series, didn't they? Day ticket
Yeah, yeah.
fishing. I thought, oh, a bit of a change. I think I went down Oxley's, down Linear a couple of times, and then
Did you catch anything from down there then when you went down
nothing
Oxford?
from that. No, it was. I went down there, and it was like completely different fishing. All the swims were taken. No one was sort of using boilie. I turned up with boilie, and it was sort of particles.
Yeah,
And
everyone was on the amp and that really.
yeah, it was sort of this is how they fish. It's different down here. It isn't like back home where you just fish boilie and that. And then, but going then, I think we're back onto the Lido now, then, Dean, on the when I had that common.
Yeah.
So we sort of I know you were asking me like what bait it was on then. Was it about 2001, 2002?
Yeah. So what you been using then?
So I come off the Aminos because I like stop fishing Hilton and that, so I want having bait off Brian. And I got in touch with the Mike Wilmot.
Oh
It's
right. Oh
essentially,
yeah. Went on the essential, did you?
yeah. I was having B5 off him.
Ready rolled though now. We on ready
Yeah,
roll bait now.
ready rolled. So it all come. It was about a tenner a kilo,
Oh
frozen
yeah,
like.
it's always been an expensive bait, that one. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a good bait though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe I was doing well on thingy with it on Lido. From what time I fished it, I did well. Then I had some of his base mix. He did a like a cream seed one,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
but couldn't get a bite on Lido on it.
No.
No,
Did
couldn't
you
get a
I
bite
mean, did
on it.
did you persevere with it like? Were you putting it in there?
Yeah, I started putting it in because I brought the base mix here. Brought all what he recommended. Like I think it was a fruit seed oil. I can't remember at the
Yeah, I
time,
think
and
you did used to sell that, yeah.
yeah, and what the flavour, exactly what he said, and that, and just thingy. So it wasn't me. I thought, oh, this isn't me. I prefer the fish meal and
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's a similar story to my bait journey, that is a little bit. Because I had a similar experience with fish meals and bird foods. And but I mean, I'll save that for another time. But I did have a similar experience. But in hindsight, and I do now know, I mean, it's a long time, you're talking best part of 30 years down the line. You
Yeah,
can make extremely good baits from bird foods. You can make
yeah,
extremely good baits from bird. I mean, when I first joined Wedgwoods, there was one lad using a bird food bait, and it was catching well. But I mean, the vast majority of anglers were using fish meals, and most of the fish
yeah.
were getting caught on fish meals. But yeah, I mean, we'll save that for another discussion.
Another
But
time. Yeah,
hey,
yeah, for another time. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you can make good baits out of bird foods. I
yeah.
mean, I'm 100% confident using my red devil bait anywhere. It's a good bait. It'll catch anywhere. But
That's it.
just the same as all fish meals aren't the same, all bird foods aren't the same either.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
It's
So
just an
oh,
umbrella term, but you've got to have the I think with a bird food bait, you've got to have certain things in there to make it
yeah. That
effective.
that's it. You'll know, won't you? See that's the thing here, and it was sort of. I was having this bait and from doing well on the B5, which is fish meal, then going to this cream seed and not catching. It was sort I couldn't do with it.
Yeah. Well,
So
your confidence will go and everything, won't it? I mean, the
yeah,
thing is as well, when you know you can catch fish, because by this stage you'd already caught. I mean, what we on now? So say we're on what 2002 or something? Are we on?
yeah,
Yeah. So by this stage, you've been carp fishing 10 years. You've gone on a few waters. You've been pretty successful on a few waters. So, but I always say, I mean, it's different now, but I always used to say it takes you a few years to actually get to grips with baits and what works and what's
that's
effective for you. It takes a lot of learning, doesn't it? Because everything wasn't
yeah,
all the information wasn't freely available.
that's it. Yeah,
Um, all the information wasn't freely available like it is nowadays. I mean, it's a lot easier nowadays, isn't it?
yeah. Uh, there's a lot more things available. Everything's there for you
And
today, and
everything's on the internet. Everybody sees what
yeah,
everybody's catching and what they're
yeah.
catching on and the rigs and all the rest of it. It wasn't
Yeah.
like that then, was it?
No, that's it. Back then, you were sort of, and back then you didn't know if anyone was fishing on there before you or who'd been on in the week, unless you walked down
Yeah,
or
that's it. Yeah,
you'd got to make the effort to go yourself.
yeah.
And it was on there. It was on there when me and Keith were fishing it, and he went down with a couple of kilo, which was a lot more bait back then than it is today.
Yeah.
Sort of. And I remember he went down the Lido, he baited it the Thursday night, put it all in, not far out, fished it on the Friday and caught, I think it was 220s, probably the two biggest fish in the lake.
Who's that, Keith?
Keith, yeah.
What was he using then?
I think it was John Baker.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Was he rolling it himself as well, Keith?
I can't remember. I think he might have been having it off Brian Garney.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Because Brian had gone to John Baker then from Premier.
Right, right.
But I can always remember him that. It was a Thursday night I went down with him. He put it in a couple of kilo, fished it on the Friday and caught probably the two biggest fish in there.
Yeah, which is a good result in anybody's book, isn't it?
Yeah. But then I thought...
But so he went down and pre-baited, did he, Keith? Because you and Keith were pretty well known for doing a bit of the pre-baiting, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. We sort of... later on, a few years on, sort of 2004, 5, 6, then, yeah, we got quite well known for it.
Yeah.
But it paid off. It was hard work, Dean, but it was doing that. Obviously, this is a bit further up in the years, but we were doing that and it paid off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's another thing we can talk about as well. I mean, because I can remember when I first started doing a bit of pre-baiting in the 90s, I can remember how effective it was, and times have changed now, haven't they? It just,
Yeah,
you've got more restrictions against you, but it's very rare now you can find a water where if you're pre-baiting, you're the only one who's doing it, isn't it?
yeah, that's it. And I think today, I know carp eat a lot of bait, but there's that much more bait going in the water.
Yeah, and then you've got lake owners, some of them feeding the fish.
Yeah,
I mean, I can remember in the 90s, and if I'm honest, I can't ever remember going on anywhere and putting, say, a 6-egg mix in a night or a night or two before I went fishing and ever blanking. I can't ever remember blanking.
No, that's it, isn't it?
I
And
mean,
that was a lot of bait.
even, eh?
The 6-egg mix was a lot of bait, sort
Well,
of.
yeah,
Then
I mean, a 6-egg mix is roughly a kilo anyway, depending on size of the eggs. But yeah, I can remember in '96, which is like I had a good year on wedges, but I still fished a few other places that year. And I can remember going, because like none of my mates had got the Wedgwood ticket. I mean, I made friends on there. And I can remember going up Biddulph Grange because I'd heard a whisper about this big fish in there.
That's it.
I'd heard a whisper about this upper 20 possibly in there. And we went up and I took a 6-egg mix up of this fish meal bait was rolling. Because I flitted about a bit. I did use mainly Premier Spice that year, but I was also getting a bit of base mix from somewhere else because I hadn't even come up with my own recipe yet. It was the end of that year when I came up with my first bait. And I can remember getting up Biddulph Grange and I put this 6-egg mix in. And then we went home because you couldn't night fish it. You could fish on the day ticket. I think the members could night fish it. And we went home. We went back the next day, and I'm pretty sure we had 5 fish the next day, or we had 5 bites. Might have been 5 bites and lost a couple, but I lost a big one. At the net, and still to this day, I mean, people might think I'm talking rubbish, but I still think I might have lost that big one because it was a big fish. It was a big fish. And that was with pre-baiting, and I dare say, if you did that now on probably even that same lake, I dare say it just wouldn't be as effective nowhere near.
That's it, yeah.
Because there's just, like you say, there's just more food going in. I mean, it was like the golden years of when you could pre-bait and there was nobody else doing it. You were onto a winner every time, weren't you?
That's it, because like you say, the average person who fished it, they had so much bait, maybe a 3-egg mix, didn't they? So if you could go down in the week and put a 6-egg mix in, then go and fish it the day after or 2 days after. It was sort of...
It was a big edge, wasn't it?
Yeah. But now, I don't think it might not do anything today on some waters.
No. I mean, even the park lakes around the area in Stoke now, I don't even think it would be that effective on some of them now because there's people fishing them all the time.
That's it, yeah. There's somebody on every night, isn't there? Most nights now in the week.
Yeah, on a lot of them. I mean, I don't fish any of them anymore, but I mean, there's people on them pretty regular. I mean, I know there is still certain waters where some of the lads who have bait off me fish, and if they put a bit of bait in. But the quantities have gone up. You know, instead of putting a 6 egg mix in a kilo, it's 2 or 3
Yeah,
kilo. You know,
that's it.
and it might take them a couple of baiting up trips, get the swim going. But I never found you even needed that in the 90s. I always thought I always had pretty much good success just going down with a 6 egg mix, couple of days before I went fishing, bang it in,
Yeah,
and 90% of the time you'd have a result when you went on.
that's it. Yeah, yeah. And but yeah, it's just that's another thing. Everything's advanced, like we were saying. The fish size,
Well, carp fishing has just become more popular as well, and it's exploded,
yeah,
hasn't it?
that's it. Yeah, it's it's all changed. So I think we're up now till what 2002 on the Lido, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it's all right. I've just heard an alarm go off somewhere.
Have you, mate? It's not yours, is it?
No, it isn't mine.
Not your... Can I tell everybody where you're fishing at the moment, Matt?
Oh yeah, I'm just on Grenville.
Yeah, yeah. He's in Grenville, Matters, land of the giants.
Just on my second night, not a lot being out really. Bit tough going. Not making excuses, but just everything. It's just one of them sessions. Just everything just doesn't seem right. Like the wind up and down, changing different directions. Being
I
up
think I
down.
think a lot of people, Matt. I think a lot of people when they talk about Grenville, I mean, 90% of them who pass comments have never fished it. I think a lot of them think it's quite an easy water, isn't it? But I think the reality is
Oh,
a little bit
oh,
different, isn't it, mate?
oh yeah, definitely, definitely, Dean.
I mean, you've got a bit of history with Grenville anyway, haven't you? We'll probably talk about that.
Yeah. If you, I first got a ticket here, 2007, 2008.
Yeah, yeah.
It was John Cooper at the time. Pyramid Baits got me in here. It was, he said, water. He said he'd stocked it all with these Simmos, Parker, Andy Parker fish. And it was up and coming. Everything was natural. All small fish were stocked in here. I think probably £6 was the biggest fish.
Yeah, I
What
was going to
went
say
in.
they're all small when they went in, weren't they?
Yeah, a big 75, 80 acre pit, silly depths, Dean, which you know, 40 foot deep. And he was saying it's an up and coming water. These fish are phenomenal. They can just grow and grow in here. And it was like I had a ticket for a year, got in here, and I think the biggest fish was sort of £36. And that had only been over a few
I was going to say
seasons.
because the fish had only been in there about 5 years then, hadn't they?
Yeah. So that gives you some sort of indication already what this potential was, and just fast forwarding today, if people don't know like about it, what size fish are in here now and the amount of fish is unreal. I
I
think
mean, there is 1,000 fish in there, isn't there, Matt?
yeah, roughly. I suppose you can estimate it. Yeah, he has got records of every fish.
I mean, you know, it sounds a lot, and you'll get people listening to this. I mean, it is a bit of a bugbear of mine. I mean, people will think 1,000 fish, it's going to be easy,
Yeah.
but you know, 1,000 fish in 70 acres, it's still only just over 10 fish per acre. You know, you fish anywhere. I mean, I've fished some small ponds with only 10, 20 fish in acre in size, and they're never easy. They're never easy.
No, that's it. And these fish, people have probably seen videos, DVDs, whatever, and that on the internet and that, and people catching. But
right, Matt, I'm just going to pause it again there, mate. I'm just going to get a drink.
yeah,
All right, pal.
yeah, mate. Yeah, no worries.
So hold on a minute, Matt. Let's rewind a little bit here because I know we've missed a bit of your fishing out. What was good
Yeah,
fishing?
I think we skipped, haven't we?
Yeah. So what we're getting back to then? Is it about 1999?
No, we sort of. So we went back
Oh
on the
no,
line.
2002 after the Lido.
2002. Yeah. So after there, I thought, didn't
I
know
mean,
really where.
just for clarity's sake. So, I mean, you've got to remember this is 20 years ago. You live in Stoke. So, what was your biggest fish at this stage? That 28 and a half?
28 and a half.
Yeah, which was a big fish then, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, go on then. Just carry on from there, mate.
So we sort of done probably a few months on the Lido again, me and Keith
Mm.
sort of just gone back and sort of just probably a bit more advanced, see what we can caught. We caught quite a lot. Got some nice photos of some nice fish in there, what I never knew were in there. So that come to an end. And I thought, where's next in that? Wasn't really doing any nights. It didn't really bother me. So I thought there was one I kept looking about. Not massive carping, but there was rumours of a 30, whether it existed, was a Cheshire sandpit, Brereton.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think, I don't think you can fish that on the day ticket anymore, which,
Ah, yeah. So that
I thought they'd never be able to do because it's council owned. But
council,
yeah,
yeah,
well, I mean, that's an aside, but yeah.
yeah. So I thought, oh, I'll try give this a go, but everything was against me. It was run by Wheelock, so they got members who could night.
Which it still is, I think. Wheelock can still fish
Yeah,
it.
yeah, probably, yeah. They could fish all round the lake. I was on day ticket. I could only fish one sort of round from what I called the dam round to one end. So some of the better fishing I couldn't fish, where the fish were more held up, and could only go on when the car park opened, which I got round that. I parked in a little lay-by and walked through the woods in the morning, and I thought, oh, I'll give this a go. First session, I had two commons, I think an 18 and a 17.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this was different. Never fished a sand pit before. So it was, and it was sand back then as well. It's probably changed a bit now. So
Yeah.
it was like pure sand. And just went for there, just doing day sessions and sort of trying my best. Caught some rare mirrors, what apparently I was told don't get caught. Uh, just using the Essential B5 again. And it was one of them that, for what I fished it, I had quite a few fish.
Mm.
And
I think
everything
I
was
think
against
though,
me.
I mean, I think there was a good head of fish in there. I mean, a few lads did have who had bait off me at 50 to Wheelock, and they did catch
Yeah,
a few. Like, I mean, it was a few years later, but it was probably
yeah,
about 2011. I can remember one of the lads, Woody, going on there, and he was having some good hits of fish on Super Orange out there. Um,
yeah,
so I think the I mean, I'm not detracting from you, but I think there was a few fish in there, weren't there?
yeah, yeah. I think, to be honest, Dean, yeah, I think there was a good head of commons in there,
Mm.
but I didn't really know anything a lot about it because I only a short time fished it. Sort of, nobody wanted to know you because I was on a day ticket.
Mm.
Then it was even worse when you were catching because they were like, "What you up to?" and all this. But from there, then that come to an end, and I thought, oh, what thingy? It was I got asked Brian Garner for a ticket again on Hilton,
Yeah, right.
so he was going back on there. So I'm sort of years later going back and spoke to Brian. He said, "Oh,
But bear in mind as well, Matt, that between when you last fished it in '98 and what years are we on now? 2004.
yeah,
So then fish had 6 years growing time. So there was going to be
very,
some more. There was going to be some more big fish in there, weren't there?
yeah, oh yeah." It was sort of went round Brian's house. He got this photo album out in big, fully scaled. This fish, big plated one. He thought, where have these come from? Like, and well, they were what in there, and obviously they've got caught now. So he was looked at it. Obviously, it seemed a different lake than when I fished it back then. Them bars weren't as sharp, sort of silted up or over the time and that. There was still weed present, good head of weed in there, and he was got on the Premier Matrix.
Yeah, he was back. He was back with the Premier by then, wasn't he, Brian?
Back on Premier then. He was with Premier, so it was back that ready rolled now. So he's advancing now.
Yeah.
It was already rolled now. This was the new, probably the new era. I think you probably remember. Was it the bait and feed company?
Yeah, they used to do it. Yeah, but you'd get it direct off Premier, though, wouldn't you? Premier
Oh
rolled
yeah,
it. Premier rolled it, didn't
yeah,
they, by then?
yeah. That's it. But sort of that era, it was like the bait and feed
Oh yeah,
company
when they yeah,
doing
they, I think they
everyone's really.
yeah, I think they come about in about I think it was about the year 2000 when they started.
Yeah, yeah. So this was like it was rolled then. So come on, I can remember first night on there because it was proper traditional close season. So the opening night was the
June
16th of
June the
June.
16th.
Yeah. So we sort of you could cast in at sort of 9 o'clock on the 15th at night. Uh, got in this swim, what they called the snag swim. I'd had fish from there previous when I'd fished it. I knew what to do, but I thought I'm going to do something different. I'm going to fish a rod to me right in the margin. I spoke, been up there in the close season, seen a few different lads from different areas around there looking and that, baiting their swim, what they chose and that, like in the draw.
So you had to draw for the swim, did you?
Yeah. So I can't remember. I think the draw maybe was 2 weeks before the season up there.
Yeah.
And I think I can't remember how, I don't think you picked swims. If I remember, I think you drew out the swim because a
Right.
lot of them are different now. You sort of pull, if you're second out, you pick where you want to go. But I think that, I'm sure that swim come out. Too hard to fish has just popped its head out.
Has it? What, anywhere near you?
Yeah, bang on top.
Oh, that'll do. One is hopefully it'll rip off in a minute.
Yeah, that's looking good. But no, first night I was been baiting this margin rod, and people were saying, "Oh, you were thinking there," and I had a fish. I had two and lost one, and I had one and lost one off that spot, and no one had ever think about fishing it. And what he did, it went off quite deep down to about 7.5 foot, quite close in.
Yeah.
And from what I studied and what I watched and what I thought in my own mind, I think the fish come up there and they went to that point where the bait was, then they go across. And I think, and I caught from me previous that season as well, like further on in the season. But I was going on there, I was doing not every Friday night, but they were probably quick Friday night, say afternoon time till Saturday morning dinner time. That's all I was doing one night. And I was doing all right. I was having quite a few fish off. I was having them up to 29.
So were you catching these new fish then as well?
Yeah, a bit of both. Some were old ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of them have got names by then, like.
Yeah, because they've
Uh,
grown, the new ones, yeah.
yeah, some were still the originals.
Yeah.
So I'd had them up to then, and I carried on through the winter fishing it, and I caught in the winter. I had some nice commons off in the winter, some lovely up. I think I had five, maybe six 20-pound commons to 29.
Yeah, so now you're again up there now. So you've gone from like 28 and a half as your biggest, and now you've had a few 29s. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So there were bigger fish then, catching steadily through the winter. Then it was after what I call sort of, you get January, you're getting into February, and it's tough going then.
Oh yeah,
And I
it's
thought,
tricky.
yeah. So I was still doing all right up until then. Maybe one fish, not catching every Friday night, but one fish maybe. Then thought to myself, oh, up until then I was doing quite hard work. I was fishing. There was a big island on there. You'll know, Dean. It's quite a big island. So you'd have to wade all your tackle across. It was like waist
Yeah.
height and water. And I was doing well because no one could be bothered. Fish off the point. Found a nice silty patch, which I never knew was there. I could guarantee you take 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. But going into February, I thought these fish at the back of the island are on the spit. So I was going up with Keith Wright, who also joined then, with maybe 10 kilo of barley, wheat and maize and a couple of kilo of boilies. And
Right.
putting it in Thursday
So,
night.
so this is in February, is it? And you're giving it to them?
Yeah, you're talking late February now.
Mm.
This was like a real cold winter.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember this one weekend, and I put this bait in and that off the spit. Back on it on the Friday afternoon. I think Keith was going fish the point to the island the Friday night. Like anyway, I had one fish. I remember having a 23 mirror. So I thought, same again next week. Said to Keith, shall we go up again Thursday? Put the bait in, did the same again. And it was, I was into the first night, and I think I've got the times written down like in my diary, but maybe 12:30, the rod went. One of the rods got it in. It was, I think, I'm guessing now it was 31 something. I think 31.10 or 31.12.
Yeah. So you're not saying you're over the moon, are you? You caught your first 30.
Oh, sorry, Dean. I'd had another 30 before then.
Oh, had you?
Yeah, I've missed that out. I'd had one off the point of the island at 31.12.
So was that your first 30?
That was my first 30.
Yeah. So, yeah. Was that, what was that? Was it one of the stock fish or was it one of the originals?
One of the originals.
Right.
So,
Nice.
so that was, I was on the
Because
point of the
these fish,
island.
these original fish as well, I believe, as soon as Brian was running it and there's plenty of bait going in, they all started getting bigger, didn't they?
Yeah, because they'd never seen bait before.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That, you know, just gives people some idea that how much difference bait makes.
Yeah. So these fish had seen that bait and they were getting bigger. And it was 31.12. I had that. It was off the point of the island about 2 in the morning, and Keith was fishing what was a boathouse swim. So I thought I'd best call him up. I knew it was big when it was in the net. And tried to lift it out like, and he come round, he had to wade. Fair play to him, he had to wade out 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, come to me like, photograph it, first 30, PB and that, over the moon. But roll on to this session, then into February, I had this this fish, I got it in, and it was it might be 31.8 now. I'd have to
Yeah,
check.
a winter 30. Yeah,
Yeah, had this big plated mirror. Thought, wow, February, do you know what I mean? It was like winter time, and Keith was on point of the island, come did the photos, and it was in the night. A few hours later, I had a 29.12. I think that was the weight. A 29.12. I thought, gosh, this session can't get any better.
yeah, phenomenal.
I thought you couldn't think it. Then we're coming on into the morning now. It's getting light. Rod way again. 32.8.
Jesus.
And you're talking still back then, yeah, fish have got bigger and that, but you're thinking, wow, 230s, nearly 330s almost in a session.
Yeah.
I'd never ever done that before. And they were,
I mean, it's a good enough result now, and it's in this neck of the woods.
oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Anyone would take that, wouldn't they now?
Oh yeah, yeah, especially that time of year, mate. It's absolutely,
Yeah,
it's phenomenal, and it's just mind blowing,
yeah,
isn't it, at the time?
yeah. Then it was about 12 o'clock Saturday daytime, and I had another fish about, I think it was either 21 or 24.
Yeah.
And you thought, this is unbelievable.
So is all this happening over all this bait what you've been putting in?
Yeah, this was over the boilies and the barley, wheat and maize.
Yeah. What we're talking, here, quantity wise.
So you're talking definitely 10 kilo of the particle and
Yeah.
a couple of the kilo of boilie from the Thursday night.
So
So
how were you putting that in like on the Thursday when you're getting up there?
So what you could do, you could walk across on this spit and it dropped off through the trees then where I was casting to was about 8 foot,
Right.
9 foot. So it was just basically with a big spoon, baiting spoon, just throwing it all in.
Right. Yeah. So you're giving him a big hit of bait. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it was then. I'd had 2 kilo of boilies then on the Friday and basically just topping up with boilies.
Yeah. Mm.
And so that was that. Like I'd had
Just shows you how much they'll still eat even when the water's cold.
yeah, that's it. If you do it right and it's the right bait as well, because you know yourself, all baits aren't what they're led to believe, or
Yeah.
they all
Oh yeah. I
aren't.
mean, some baits are definitely a lot better than others when the water's
Yeah,
cold. But it's like the
yeah,
particles as well. I mean, if it's well prepared and it's soft, there's an high water content, so it's still pretty digestible, isn't it, the particle?
yeah. It's like it opened my eyes up to it. But I'd also known as well. I caught a few fish in December, and Brian was going up probably every other week, just putting general the particle in the lake just in winter time. And I'd always, when I caught, it was always in the sling or on the mat. All the particle
They
was.
were shifting it out, so you had a little bit
Yeah,
of you had a little bit of a light bulb moment there, did you? Thinking these fish are still
yeah.
eating this when Brian's
So
putting
I
it in?
thought, yeah, as if like it triggered them off.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, you knew,
So
didn't you? You knew straight away
yeah,
you weren't fishing over there. Brian was putting it in, so you thought, well, these fish are still eating even though the water's cold.
yeah. So it was like then people got to know about it. People are trying because it was hard work fish the back of the island. Uh, but people were getting wanted try have a go at it and thingy and to be fair, I don't know, but I don't think a lot of people caught then. But I went back on the Friday night. Someone had fished it in the week and had nothing. I went back on the following Friday night. I had a 26 common off there.
Yeah. And do you reckon they would be fishing the same spots as you or no? Don't you know?
Probably very similar.
Mm.
But what it was, there used to be a big tree. I don't know if it's a fallen tree or it just overhang now, but it come right out in the water. And what a lot of people did, they fished to it. And I believe, and it was like fishing the snag swim. And Keith Wright will tell you this. I never fished into the snags, and that's what everyone did. I was fishing way off them, and this is what I did on the back of the island to the spit. I didn't fish the big tree. I fished 3, 4 rod lengths from it. Where
Right. Right.
I did it because I'm thinking not just if you get a fish, it could get you in the snag, fishing locked up and everything still. But I'm thinking I don't
The,
need to
the,
fish
the,
there.
yeah, you probably, I don't know, you were you thinking, well, I bet that snag's been hammered, so I'll just come off it a bit.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was, to be honest, even with all the snags, is everyone casts you, and yeah, it is common sense too. But I'm thinking them fish a lot of the time are sitting in the snags because they're safe, aren't they? They feel safe.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think once they come out, the guard's dropped. When they see bait, I believe, to whatever you're talking, say 25 foot away, they'll pick it up. I aren't saying you won't catch from the snags, but I'm thinking
Yeah,
maybe,
I think like you say though, I think it's probably another case of you were probably dropping your bait somewhere where they weren't used to seeing bait because everyone was baiting
yeah,
tight to the snags.
yeah, to the snags, yeah.
Yeah.
And he just fingered on there. I had a good season. Brian said it was the most ever. No one had ever caught that many fish.
How many did you have that year then, Matt?
First season was 36.
First season when
And
you went back on?
back on 36 fish, and that was Brian Garner was saying if you had 5 or 6 fish a season, then that was good.
Yeah. How many fish was there in there then now with the ones we put in?
I reckon probably now you're probably talking about 100, 110.
So you've had roughly 30% of the stock, which is pretty good, isn't
Yeah,
it? On a lake like that.
yeah. And so the following season come up again. It was the same again. I was catching. But then another little private syndicate come up in Tutbury. So I went look at that as I'm fishing Hilton and thought, oh, like this little 2 acre lake, little private syndicate in the middle of nowhere, no one knows you're there. So I had a ticket for there. So that interfered a bit with Hilton, if you get me.
So what year are we on now then? 2005.
Yeah, so we're probably talking about then.
Yeah.
So I was still a bit thingy. I'd lost a bit of thingy on Hilton then. I'd still caught some fish that following season. We're still in it, and I think I'd had 18 fish then, and we're still halfway through the season.
So just if we just pause there.
Yeah.
So how many known 30s was there in Hilton back at that stage, do you reckon?
So back then, I'd caught them all then. So I'd had 330s.
And that's as many as there was in there, 330s.
Yeah, there was 330s. There was another fish. What went? I think it went 30. I had it twice, but it was at 29 both times. Then I'd had the other 29, which when I had them 4 fish in the winter, I think that went 30, but I had it at 29. Then I'd had a common to 29. So at the time, I'd caught the 30s, what were actually in there.
Yeah, so basically you were just happy with what you caught. So
Yeah.
and you, it's the same. Your enthusiasm goes a bit, doesn't it, when you know you can't get anything.
Yeah.
I'll just ask you though. I mean, are you like a target-driven angler, or do you just fish and just for whatever comes along, or do you always set yourself targets?
I do and I don't, Dean, to be honest. I'm sort of, when I go fishing, now I've got less time go fishing now than I did.
Yeah, because you certainly
But
aren't doing a lot of fishing at the moment, are you?
no, but if I go, I've got to be 99% fishing. So I aren't bothered what I catch, but I try and judge the situation. Like this session, it's no point, say, putting 10, 20 kilo of boilies in. Do you
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
me?
yeah.
The,
No, I mean, what I'm more getting at though
yeah,
I mean, once you'd caught these big fish, which I mean, they're still pretty big fish now, but once you'd
yeah.
caught these 30s out of Hilton, did the enthusiasm go a little bit, thinking I can't catch anything bigger?
It did and it didn't, Dean. I was still catching 20s. I know what you're saying, but this water come along, so it was a new water, so it was a new challenge. Do you
Yeah,
understand me?
yeah, definitely.
So it was like, if that hadn't to come along, I would have still carried on fishing Hilton as such, how I was.
Yeah, because you hadn't caught all the fish that were in there, had you?
Oh yeah, definitely not now. So I was still fishing it Hilton with this. So it was sort of, I'd have a Friday night up on this little private syndicate, then following Friday I'll go on Hilton like that. Do you get me?
Yeah.
And it was sort of, and I can't remember, I probably total now, I must have had altogether 80 fish from Hilton from the very first time, then going back on.
Mm.
Probably
Yes.
70 to 80. They've got them all written down, all
Yeah.
photographed.
Mm.
Probably, definitely 60 20s, Dean.
Yeah,
Over 20.
which back then for round here, like I reckon it's pretty much no, I wouldn't say unheard of because there was a couple of good waters. I mean, you got Westport Lake. I mean, I never
Yeah,
really knew a great deal about it, and there was 20s in Trentham, and you got Old Lake as well, not far away, but it's in Shropshire. Um, but I mean, 60-20s out of one water, it was pretty phenomenal, really, wasn't it?
yeah. Oh, he was thinking, it's like, if I look back now and look at the photographs, then you start counting them up then and you think 1, 2, 3, 4, and you think, yeah, you think, oh, look at that, I remember catching that. And you look back then and you think, yeah, wow, I remember them memories. And this is when, even now, yeah, like, it's a good sized fish. But you look back then and you think, gosh, it's a good sized fish.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I enjoyed it on there. And it was sort of this syndicate in Tutbury come up. So I thought, I'll give this a go, like little private water, middle of nowhere. It was lovely, Dean.
Yeah, I can remember speaking to you about it after you'd fished it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was went on. The owner told us what sort of fish were in there. He sort of basically, I don't think Scott had it long, and what was in there, and that I think he knew, but I think he was a bit unsure himself.
Yeah, so it was
And
a bit of an unknown quantity, was it?
yeah, he was sort of one of them. I think there was 2 catfish in
Which
there.
is
He
more
says,
exciting, isn't it, when it's a bit of unknown? Like, I mean, he'd put fish in though, Auntie, as well. Had he put fish in?
yeah, he put some simo fish in, not many, about 10, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, they were your proper, your old looking simo, the big round ones.
Yeah, yeah. They're not the not the best looking ones, like, yeah.
No, that's it, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And Keith had a ticket at the time again, like, because we sort of not fished together, but do you know what I mean? Fished the same time and that. And we went up the lake. The owner says there's 2 cats in, you'll never sort of see him. Saw one first time we were up there. He says, made me laugh. There's two ghost carp, pure ghost carp in there. He says, but they very rarely get caught. First session on, I had one.
Did you?
I had the smaller one. It was about £14.
Right.
But so I had that, and then I thought, I like this water. I was going on sort of Friday night. There was a lad who used to fish it Thursday night. He was packing up as I was getting there Friday afternoon. I was having it to myself, sort of.
Happy
And
days.
yeah, I couldn't go wrong, Dean. Couldn't go wrong. I was just putting the Premier in again on the Matrix, and I had the big ghosty 25, pure white one. I was having 5 or 6 fish a night then, and like a couple of 20s. They were doubles. Do you know what I mean? They weren't as big fish as Hilton.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I'm just going to pause it there, Matt, because my missus is coming through the door. All right, pal.
yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, so you're on this truck replace then. Yeah, you're having a few.
yeah. Having a few. Not as big fish as Hilton. He'd had got a known 30 in there, and
Was that the chestnut fish? What Keith caught in the end?
yeah, that was it. Yeah, the
Yeah,
chestnut.
yeah,
Uh, nice fish, and
yeah. Lovely fish there. Nice
yeah,
long fish.
yeah. I managed to have that. I thought it was one of the cats. I thought I got one of the cats on.
Oh, it was a
I
scrapper,
ju-
was it?
yeah, couldn't get it in, and I couldn't believe how long it was. To be honest, the fish.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
proper,
I remember the day he caught it, and he sent me the picture because he caught that on my HXB bait, and
yeah, I remember that.
was a long fish that one. Yeah, was a big long fish.
Yeah, long fish, lovely leathery looking one,
Yeah, it was.
and it was just going from there. I was really enjoying the place. It was sort of, oh, I'll go there instead of Hilton, and then I had one session on there. One, it was I forgot what month it was. It was one of them drizzly days. Friday afternoon, I turned up, and everything just fell into place. I had 23 fish in one night.
Jesus, how many fish was supposed to be in there?
Well, this was the thing. See, I'd photographed everything and that, and sort of the owner was telling Scott like, and he sort of, yeah, all right, yeah, you had 23, and I said I'll send you the photos, like, and he says, yeah, will you? I think he thought, because I didn't really know Scott as such then, so I think he thought, oh yeah, here we go. Anyone can say they've had this many fish, can't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So printed these photos off like them because I don't think he sent emails as such like that. I can't remember now, but I printed
Yeah, I
them
mean,
all off.
there would have been emails around them, but yeah,
Yeah,
people were still printing pictures now, weren't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I printed them all off and sent it him. He said, "Gosh, I can't believe it," he says. And it was just there, and then it was sort of caught a lot of fish from there.
So
Caught,
how many fish do you reckon there was in there then? Like, and you had 23 in one session.
I caught about 70 fish.
So you'd basically had a third of the stock in one session. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's what I caught. I had only a couple repeat catches, a couple of the Simo fish. Like I had because they were coming out at 20 and that, so I had a few of them. And it was a lovely lake.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was then so it was like I'd had a bit of a thing on there. Back on Hilton, I'd go on, and then I'd had in that time I'd had a few guest sessions down on a few private waters down in I think you said it was Berkshire, I think Berkshire, sort of Newbury. Somebody I knew had got like was in a private syndicate down there. Managed to go on as a guest.
How'd you get on down there? Did you catch anything?
Yeah, I caught a double. It was only double, only fish out of there. Like with there was me, my mate who was the member who took me down there, and there was three more syndicate members on. It was the only fish what come out. It was sort of it was it was a swim where I kept getting picked up by coots all day long, and I thought it was a coot and it was a fish.
Nightmare
So
then. Bit of a night. Oh, you thought it
yeah,
was a cootie you got to take, yeah?
yeah, and I thought it was one of them, Dean. When I'm thinking, I was getting picked up, coots were in the area, but the carp had come in as well.
Yeah. Oh,
So then that
I've seen carp feeding underneath coots. I have.
yeah. So that's another thing then you learn, isn't it? You think
Yeah,
it's like just things you keep picking up along the way. Then so I've done that back on Hilton. Then it was when Grenville come about 2007. It
yeah,
was I don't know if we discussed it about John Cooper
yeah.
Pyramid
Cooper
Baits.
got you in, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's this water. It's phenomenal how they're growing in here. Went down, look at it with Brian Garner. It was uh, the end of October,
What before?
Halloween. It was.
What before he got banned?
Yeah, it was in Halloween. It was.
Oh yeah, Halloween night. Yeah,
Yeah, went down, have a look at it, and it was sort of pit what had been probably dug in the 80s, like quarried out and everything. The owner Paul at the time had planted hundreds and hundreds of trees. The work what had got in it was phenomenal. So these trees were like 2 to 5 foot tall.
yeah. Just
They
little
were,
saplings.
yeah. Then he'd put like proper swims he'd done. He'd put fence panels at the top of the swim because the wind got that bad. A bivvy wouldn't hold.
Yeah, it's just a big wide open pit at this
Yeah,
stage. Isn't it? No trees and
yeah,
that.
that's it.
Yeah,
And it was like a lot of people don't know what it was like back then. Like they see it today and they read about it, watch it today, and you think you go back to how it started,
yeah,
and it was just from there. It was went down bonfire night first night. I had a fish. I think it was a 20, and it was different fishing then.
yeah.
It was like
It's back to the drawing board again, learning something new again.
definitely. I was
Yeah,
going down there with the boilies and that, and you got a lot of good anglers. You got a lot of Alsto lads. And they'd spot out for 2 or 3 hours non-stop.
yeah, yeah. Oh, so you can still use particles and that on the lake then, could you?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was different thingy. So I thought, oh right, I'd only ever probably used a bait rocket to get boilies out on Hilton.
yeah,
So I thought, what do I do? So got a bit of particle one thingy. One weekend, I thought I'll try this. Put about 5 spodfuls in, and I think everyone just looked after me as if something was up with me. Like 5 spodfuls, and they doing 2 or 3 hours.
yeah,
I thought, this is thingy. This is. It's like, oh, what do I do? Do you know what I mean? It's sort of gone from sweet corn, everyone hemp, sweet corn, whatever particles, and I'm using boilies. I thought, no, there's got to be a thingy. Uh, I'll just stick with the boilies. This one for me. Not this time. This wasn't spodding, not like they were. And you were talking, Dean, the lads were all, this was before like tapered leaders or anything was sort of out then. They could cast 3 rods, 130 yards, within like a size of a bivvy. And that's how they fished.
Yeah, tramp line, it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was different fishing than me. But anyway, I stuck with this boilies and I did all right. I was, you know what I mean? Doing all right. And I was catching fish. I've gone then from catching, like, having quite a few 30-pounders and that. And I thought, stick at these boilies. And it was Max Cottis, who was with Fox at the time. He was down there, and I fished next to him a few times, like, and he said to me, like, once, he says, he come in like a season after me, and he says, I've looked at your fishing, he says, because he was a boilie man. He was mainline, and he says to me, he says, I thought what, he said, I tried do what you did, and it don't work. Tried the particle approach, the spodding out. He says, but I'm out my comfort zone. And from then on, like, he fished boilies, more and more fish boilies, and
Yeah.
the boilies was out catching the particles then.
Yeah. Easier for a meat, mate, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right, we'll just pause it there, mate, 'cause I'm just going to get a drink out the fridge. So we're still on, so you're still on Grenville then now. What year
Yeah.
is this? 2007, 2008.
Yeah. So got me tickets there, yeah.
So
And
what was the average stamp of the fish then in this time on Grenville then? I mean, I know it's like Land of the Giants now, but it was still pretty good back then, wasn't it?
yeah, you sort of 20 pounders and with a lot of 30s coming through. Hadn't done
Yeah.
a 40. Hadn't done a 40 then.
Hadn't done a 40-pounder.
No, I don't think it had in 2010.
Right. So it just shows you. I mean, people forget, don't they? I mean, 2010 is 12 years ago. It's a bit mad, and it's
Yeah.
time flies
Yeah.
by.
Yeah. And it was sort of, as years and years went by, it wasn't just like a lot of lakes, 1 or 2 fish getting big. All the fish were getting big.
Yeah, proper rich gravel pit.
Yeah.
Everything's right. The water quality's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Plenty of depth.
Yeah.
Good strain of fish. I mean, people might not like simmers, but let's be honest, they're good growers, aren't they?
That's it, isn't it? Yeah. It's sort of, yeah, people knock them and everything, but the is like, he's got a different stamp of fish now.
Yeah,
What
he's got he had the scaly ones in there from the start as well,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah. But like any water, it's the future, isn't it, Dean?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's lots of strains of carp around, mate. And I mean,
Yeah.
Simo's new fish now, they're
Oh, yeah.
beautiful looking fish, you know.
Yeah. Lovely
I
skate.
mean, it's a bit sad for him because I think he's just had a bit. I think he's just had a fish kill because he rears them in lakes now, and I think he's just had a fish kill on at least one of them.
That's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit sad. I don't know the ins and outs of it, mate, but I am led to believe he's lost quite a few fish, which is a bit sad.
Yeah,
Especially when it's his livelihood, you know.
that's it. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, when someone's earnings and, like you say, you're there.
Yeah.
But no, so it's still currently we sort of, wow, how can we say 2007 till present? I've still got a ticket for a year, fished other waters in between that time as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've done well on another water, what we can't name, haven't you? Which is, it's not a million
Yeah,
miles away from where we live, is it?
no, real, I say it's a very hard water now.
Yeah.
It was easier, but it was still hard. Caught some good fish out there. Probably,
Oh,
I don't know.
I know that's where you caught your biggest fish from, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest commons at the time in Staffordshire
Yeah. Yeah.
at the time. Uh,
And how
and
big was that, Matt? What year did you catch that?
that was 2012. That was £42.12.
Yeah, so that's a big fish. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was other fish in there what I've caught as well. Other other 30s in there, and you've seen some of the photos yourself, and some you haven't seen, but they were stunning. Some of the fish are,
Mm.
and
Oh
it
yeah,
was just,
certainly some nice looking fish in there.
yeah, it was sort of. I was using Wayne Dunn's baits then.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing. Just chat about for a short while. Like I say,
Yeah,
you've only been using my bait since 2019 because I know over the years, because you've been about a bit, you can catch a few. You've always managed to get baits at a good price off most people, haven't you?
yeah. I think what it was, Dean. I was getting bait. I could get bait for nothing off somebody. Do you get me?
Mm.
I could get it. I was getting someone else give me bait. I could get good deals, and
Yeah,
it was just getting that. Then, but I still wanted my own thing, my own bait. If you understand me, I'd
yeah,
gone through various bait companies, and I couldn't find, say, from the Premier days. I was having bait off Wayne and that, and I couldn't fault his, but I think he was going off the scale a bit. He wasn't like making bait as much and all this, and he got other things in his life what he wanted to do, and I couldn't get the right bait. And I remember it. I sat here on Grenville and I rang Keith right up. I said, I said, what bait do you reckon? And he was using yours then, scientific baits.
yeah,
And I thought, I've sat here all these years, I've heard about your bait and different things like this HXB, Keith had told me, and that. And I thought, Keith says to me, what about Dean then? Scientific bait is local. I thought, well, yeah, give him a go. Do you get me? He's local, down the road. I'd met you. Oh, I know going up to them, I'd had a ticket for Wedgwood as well.
yeah,
And I think I'd seen you around there a couple of times,
yeah.
like,
I mean, I think that was back in the days when I mean I'd done my fishing on there then.
yeah, you,
I got Foster in there in
yeah,
2006, and because I knew you and Keith were fishing it, and you're banging that Premier in. I says, I
yeah,
can get you this bait off Brian Garner. I says, you've got a bit of an head start because there's two lads on there who are not shy with it. So there's plenty of it going in. And I was rolling a bit of bait then. And I think I just went on with him, keep him a bit of company, like just, and it was nice because it was the water that I cut my teeth on, and then I went on and I saw him, it was a good water for laying on Wedgwoods. I mean, it changed quite a bit by then. It changed quite a lot
yeah,
from the 90s.
yeah,
It changed quite a bit. There's different fish in there. There wasn't that many of the originals left.
yeah,
But yeah, he certainly learned how to use a bit of bait on there. Foster did, yeah.
yeah. I enjoyed it on Wedgwood. Enjoyed it. Had a couple of when I first got in, I wanted fish it like as you do, and did
Yeah, I
all
mean,
right.
it's a shame you couldn't have gone anything in the 90s, mate, because it was a different water.
Yeah, that's it. That's when I looked at it when I was young,
You
like
know,
when 95.
everything you were
Yeah,
catching, even if you were catching a 12 pounder or a 13 pounder or a 16 or a 17, they were all fish. They were all
yeah,
fish. I mean, not everyone's the same, but I much prefer catch old fish than young fish, like personally.
yeah. That's it. I'm probably the same, like as yourself. I won't catch anything. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah, I
but
mean, it's just how
it's a
I think.
unique
I think
character, isn't
it's
it?
yeah. I think it's a bit of a nostalgia thing, isn't it? We grew up in an age where if you're fishing for big fish, they were always old, weren't they?
Yeah, that's it. It wasn't like say they
It's not.
weren't stocked. It's not
It's not
today.
like now, is it? It's not like now.
No,
You can go on waters and they're full of 30s and they're all only 10 years old.
that's it, isn't it? And
It was a different game once. It was totally different.
yeah, and
I had my first 20 out of Wedgwood 1995, and pretty much, well, it was an original fish, so it'd have been a 40-year-old fish. It'd have been a 40-year-old fish.
yeah,
And up to that point though, them fish were still like new pennies, man. Because they just hadn't been caught that many times. I mean, there'd been people who'd been on there and caught plenty of fish, but they certainly weren't getting hammered because carp fishing was a bit different then, wasn't it?
that's it. Yeah, it was different. I enjoyed my time on Wedgwood. I fished it sort of. I had a ticket for years. I fished it at the start. Then later on, I did one winter. I had a few fish off. which I enjoyed. And
Shame about that
and
big and dying, that black eye. Like, I mean, we both
yeah,
caught it, didn't we? We both caught
yeah.
it. I think your capture was a bit better than mine, though, because you caught it in January, didn't you?
I believe it was either January, February from under
Yeah,
the ice.
it was definitely the winter, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And it was a good weight. I mean, you caught it to bigger weight than
20,
I did, and I didn't catch it until 3 years after you caught it, I think.
yeah.
Well, I'd caught
I,
another common out there at a bigger weight than what I caught it at.
yeah, I did it. It might have been 25 too.
I think it was 25, yeah, when you had it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember I'd gone on for a quick few hours, got down there for a Saturday, probably only doing 4 or 5 hours, and the old lake was frozen near enough. There was a bit up the shallow end, free, and just an hole in the middle of the dam end. So I thought, oh, I've made the effort. It was sort of 7 o'clock in the morning, going light. I thought I'll give it a go. So I put it down like the furthest, like the deepest part down I could, where the edge of the ice come to. 2 hours, probably put about 40 baits in there, and it just wrapped round the rod, did.
Mm.
And it just goes to show again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
February time.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
I think it.
the first fish, when I first got in Wedgwoods, 95, you used to get your ticket in February when you were a new member. And the first session I ever did, because I was still relatively inexperienced then, really, with the boilies and that. I mean, I'd had a good session the year before on Alt Lake on the boilies and stuff.
Yeah.
And then this February, 1995, I got the ticket. And I always liked the Woods Lake, you know, the woods at Wedges, because it's
Yeah,
like an idyllic carp pool, wasn't it? You know,
that's it, isn't it?
pads,
Yeah.
snags.
It's what you read about, isn't it?
Yeah, it looked carpier than the Middle Lake, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I went down there in February, and I'll tell you now. I mean, I'd roll bait off and on and that, but I didn't really start seriously carp fishing with boilies until I joined Wedgers 1995. I
Yeah.
always fished, but I'd been a student and stuff, so fishing was mainly summer thing for me. And I went down Wedgwoods in that February in 1995. As soon as I got my ticket, I went down a Sunday morning, and I'd still got those ready-made boilies in my bag. So by now they were 3 years old,
Yeah.
and I caught three doubles in a morning. Well, it's probably fished till early afternoon in February, and that was like the start of it. Like, because even up to then, I think my PB by then 95. I think it was 18 and a half. The fish I'd had from Auxton, and
Yeah.
I bet I'd still only had about 30 doubles, maybe a few more. So when I went on there and caught three doubles in the morning, I thought, right, this is the start. This is,
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
and that was it then. That was like the start of a massive learning curve when I went, because then I moved on to the main lake and stuff, caught my first 20, but save that for another time.
Yeah. But yeah, it was sort of so. Yeah, just rolling back. It was in 2012, winter 2013. I had quite a few out of there one winter.
Mm. Yeah, I remember when you had them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but then just going like obviously back to your bait now, it was sort of Keith Wright says to me, "What about Dean? You got nothing lose. Try him local, which I knew about you and everything." And I thought, "Oh yeah, do you know what I mean?" Then I think I was on Grenville. I spoke to you. I think he was. He did me some super orange and red devil. I thought, "Oh, this super orange." I remember saying, time. I thought, I've never had bait like this before. This is what I've been missing. These when I couldn't get the bait right, what I wanted. I
Yeah.
thought this is it. And I haven't been doing a great lot of fishing like. So I had that off. Yeah, I've had some of the red devil, which is your bird food, HXB, which is like your milk protein, bird food, and that. Then I'm on this Frankie mix because all along, I think you know your baits, but like as we spoke earlier about the essential B5 and the cream seed, my confidence in it is in the fish meal,
Yeah.
and I want to
I
look at
mean,
this
I mean,
Frankie.
they are good catches. Fish meals are good catches. You know,
Yeah,
a good fish meal bait takes some beating,
yeah,
even in winter if it's a real good fish meal.
yeah, and I think that's what I think he done. I'd had this bait off you, and I thought, well, if this Frankie mix isn't the one for me, I thought I know I can go back to the super orange because that definitely is. But now I've had this Frankie mix, there's something about it. Well, I think I like the colour, I like the smell, the texture of it, and I think this is the one. And it's sort of it's like you're. I spoke to different people. Like I only know I don't know a lot about bait. Well, probably nothing to you, but
You know how to use it,
no.
don't you? You know how to use it.
But the difference is what I thought. What you know, you've got degrees in certain things. You know certain things what I don't know, what other people don't know. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I can't go wrong on the bait. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
I,
yeah, I mean, let's be honest. You haven't bought a bait off me, yeah, not caught on it, have you?
no, that's right. Yeah, it's
You know, I mean, you've done very limited fishing, but I mean,
that's it.
I mean, how many different waters have you been on with my bait and caught fish from? Now it's a few, isn't it?
Yeah, it's caught everywhere. Like I've had this Frankie mix, and I've been having your squid off you. You're
Oh, the
doing in the stick.
powders, the kraken,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
the fermenzyme,
yeah.
yeah,
And I've been making that up, and just because I just feel a bit more confident. I always have done. Before I was having that off you, it'd be like crumbing some of your boilies up,
yeah, yeah,
or do you know what I mean? And it
yeah.
just going out. And I thought, and I fished this private water with it, and well, when no one else was catching, I've caught two fish, lost one, and whether it's something down to that or something's right.
Yeah, I mean that fermenzyme. I think a lot of people think it's a bit of a gimmick, but there is actually some solid science behind it, and uh,
Yeah,
it does make a difference, mate. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I've used it myself, you know, when we were testing it and that, and I've caught using it on quite a few different waters. And for me, it's the only way to use an enzyme in any bait because there's no control over using it in a boilie. But when you're using something in a
yeah,
stick mix, what's not cooked or anything, the enzymes are not getting denatured, so they're still working. It'll work in situ. It'll still work in the lake, any pH, because it's got a broad range, got a broad temperature range. And you were doing what I said to you, making it up the night before,
yeah,
letting it incubate a bit.
that's it. Yeah,
And it does the job. Like, I mean, I don't
yeah,
want this to be a sales pitch, but it does the job. It does the
yeah.
job. But I'm
And
always taking around with something new. Like, I think people probably think, why don't I use these things all the time? But I'm always tinkering around with different things, you know. At the minute, I'm trying to get a 30 on this Wedgwood mix, my oldest bait. I'm going to be using that, I think, until I get my first English 30 on it, because I never caught a 30 on that bait.
yeah,
So it'd be nice to catch one, because it's an old bait, you know
yeah.
what I mean? It's an old bait from
That's it,
1996.
isn't it?
But at the end
Yeah,
of the day, Matt, it might be an old bait, but Carp don't change, mate. Carp haven't changed since 1996, have they?
that's it, isn't it? If you went back now and probably, like you say, you're fishing an old mix what you designed, and even if you went back fishing up Dacron and old types of hooks,
You still catch. You
yeah,
still catch, mate.
it's just we're changing, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the
and you know, I
yeah
mean,
something.
I
Yeah,
do it. You know, I do it sometimes when I go doing me better because I like doing it when it's quiet in the winter. And I'm not selling much bait. That's when I'll start tinkering around with testing flavor combinations and different attractors and stuff. And sometimes if I
yeah,
go on somewhere, I mean, you should always give anywhere a bit of respect. But sometimes if I go on somewhere, what's like super duper easy, where I'd expect catch in the winter, even if it's half iced over, a few fish. Sometimes I'll go
yeah.
back to just an old school rig. I will just a knotless knot, and a hook,
That's it.
nothing, no kicker on it, nothing whatsoever.
Yeah,
Just an old
yeah,
school rig. And I caught plenty of fish fishing like that last couple of winters, just testing flavors out.
yeah.
You know, the old rigs still work, don't they?
That's it, definitely. And to be honest, yeah, I do like yourself. I do it a lot of the time in my fishing. I think I take the kickers off and everything. I've messed about with them before, uh, I don't know if it gives me an edge using whether hook holds better or with hook seat. But sometimes I've just done the straight knotless knot,
Yeah.
straight off how it was in the 90s,
Mm.
and they suck it straight in. There's no weight there, is
Yeah.
there? There's
Well,
nothing.
I mean, if you won't look at it another way, it's a lot less cumbersome, isn't it? It's not
Yeah,
cluttered with nothing.
nothing there, is there?
I mean, and generally with the right hook, even if you pull that over your hand, it'll still catch hold.
They'll still go in, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like with your knowledge of bait, that's what I like, because you, me knowing you, so I think to myself, well, yeah, it's got to be Dean knows his stuff about bait, like whatever job you do, if you're a mechanic, you know about cars, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean, it has been said before, Matt, that I did learn everything about bait off the internet, but I mean, that's probably a load of rubbish, isn't it, really? Because I was making bait before the internet was around, mate. So, you know, I did make boilies. The first time I made boilies was 1990, but I just didn't catch anything on them. Didn't catch anything on them.
yeah,
The first boilies, I didn't start catching on any boilies that I rolled myself until 1993, which is still a long time, you know.
yeah,
It's nearly 30 years ago. But yeah, but yeah, I started catching on then. But it was 94 really. 94 was when I really did make the transition, and I thought these boilies are a good bait. You know, they are a very good bait. And then by 95, I'd seen how much difference a good bait really could make. You know, because I mean,
yeah.
some people say bait's bait, don't they? You know, it's an emotive subject, but
I think
bait isn't just bait. I mean, you'll know yourself. Some baits are much better than others.
that's it. I
Boilies. I mean,
think
we're talking about boilies now. There's other baits in there, but talking about
yeah,
boilies. But some boilies are much better than others.
yeah, definitely. I think, like you know, I know so much about it. People who've been fishing for some quite some time now, all boilies will catch, but a better boilie will last longer. Like more, what I don't know what you want to call it, or say like a food boilie signals and that they'll keep coming back. Whereas,
I mean, there's a lot to talk about there, but
yeah,
because I don't even believe in the HMV theory anymore as it stands. But a good
yeah,
bait will wait forever, mate. A good bait will
yeah,
wait forever.
that's it, isn't it? It's
But I
sort of,
mean, like you say, carp are omnivores, and on a given day, they'll eat anything. You know, they dig through shit for food, so they'll eat anything. But
yeah,
you can only go off the results. I mean, I saw the difference what a different type of bait would make in 1995, and I knew then straight away that bait made a difference, and I did, and I'll stand by that, forever.
that's it, isn't it? And I always think,
A good boilie formula. It should work anywhere, and it'll keep working forever. It'll keep working forever.
yeah, it's like I've been on certain waters and people are using whatever said bait, and do you know what I mean? And I've seen the catch rates start dropping. They caught, but then
Yeah,
they start tailoring off, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's becoming colder. The water temperatures are, and this bait, what they're using isn't as good as.
yeah. It's not digestible enough. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that's a big factor. That's a big factor.
yeah. I've seen it a few times, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
isn't just me being thinking, oh, they're using that bait. It's all watched it myself, thinking, yeah,
yeah.
it isn't so good now. This bait isn't.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, that's another difficult thing with judging a boilie. You know, some people will go, "Oh, it's no good in the winter," but I always say to them, "Well, hold on a minute. Is anyone catching anything out of that lake? Is anyone catching anything?" And if they say no, I'll say, "Well, it's a crap winter water, isn't it? Because some waters are crap in the winter, aren't they? You don't catch hardly anything from
That,
some waters in
that's
winter."
it. Yeah, that's right. And what I do as well, Dean, it's sort of my time down here when I go fishing. As you know, like it could be a quick Friday night, or if I'm lucky like this session, it's a quick weekend. I'm packed up 6 in the morning tomorrow. Then I go off. What else is come out around me?
Yeah, yeah,
So I compare it sort of then. Well, no one else is caught, or do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah, time's a big factor, isn't it? Time and consistency of fishing. You know, it's an hard game nowadays. There's a lot of people fishing nowadays.
that's it, isn't it? It's changed. Everything's changed now. The
Yeah.
carp fishing, everything, and like you say, I suppose you still look for different things in bait or whatever, and
Yeah, I
I
mean,
sort
you're always learning. Like you're always learning. It don't matter how long you do this game for. Same as most games. You're always learning something, mate.
that's it, isn't it? It's like
I mean, don't get
you're
me
good.
wrong. Don't get me wrong. You could rest on your laurels because I know full well that I've got baits like the Super Orange
Oh yeah,
and I could just even hang my boots up now and say I don't need to make another bait ever again, which I probably wouldn't need to because that bait will just catch forever. It catches from everywhere.
yeah,
But you know, there's always there's always things to be learned, and I don't know if I'd go as far to say as there's undiscovered edges out there, but there's still things to be learned. You know, there's still things to
yeah,
be learned,
yeah,
and every water is slightly different. So you do get certain baits working a little bit better on different waters for various reasons.
yeah.
But I think a lot of it's probably the pressure cycle and how many fish get caught on the bait and whatever. But there's waters now where my bait's been going in for. It's been going in some waters for 14 years, and it just keeps catching the same fish over and over again. You know,
So
and
there you have
and
it, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, you know, the fish have just been caught on it, and it doesn't like they're scared of it anymore. They just still eat it, and they'll keep eating it forever.
Yeah,
Trentham's a big example. You know, the he's seen quite a lot of super orange over the years, but then hardly anyone was fishing with my bait, and people have gone back on this year, and it's as if it's never stopped going in there. They're just catching loads of fish.
yeah. So that's good. It's sort of this Frankie mix. It's something about it what I like. I like the colour. It's a bit of a
Yeah,
unique colour.
it's an unusual color, like a dark green, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah. And
Mm.
it's just something straight away. I thought, oh yeah, I like this. I thought, and straight away on my private water, I thought straight away I had one and lost one, and you couldn't get any better than that. Then another fish the week after.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something's right.
Yeah, it's a bit of a combination of things that Frankie has. It's a few things what I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'd got hold of that new flavour. It was mainly for pop-ups actually, and a couple of lads said, "Can you make a bait with it in?" I mean, at first I put it in. At first I put that Frankfurter flavour into the Super Orange, but then I thought, no, there's no need to change that bait. It does everything what
Yeah,
I need
just
of
keep
it.
it the same.
So I thought I'll
Yeah,
just do these few things, few additives, what I'd got and stuff, and I hadn't really played around with properly, and a few other things at super high levels, you know.
yeah,
And I put the bait together, and it's done well. I mean, that bait's not really been used outside of Stoke much at all. So you know, you fishing down there with it hasn't been used much outside of Stoke, and it's caught the biggest fish in about 3 or 4 lakes. That bait has already.
yeah. So it's looking good.
Mm.
It's hopefully tonight these fish get on it.
Well,
Uh, uh,
you've seen a fish, haven't you? You've seen a fish
yeah,
close to you. Mm.
yeah. It's. I think making no excuses like, but the conditions aren't the best this weekend. But I only can go when I can go.
Yeah, that's it. I'm the same, mate, as well. I'm the same. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's it.
I've got
You
that
fish
ticket. I've
weekend.
got that ticket for that Cheshire Syndicate. What I've had for since 2020. I think I've only done 20 nights on there in all that
Yeah,
time, and I've been on there once this year. But the week before in March, it was red hot and there was all fish coming out when we had that warm spell. And
yeah,
then I'd booked for go on because I'd got the time off work then. And I went on and it was like -2 every night, and it just switched off completely. But that's fishing, isn't it? You know.
yeah. That's it, isn't it?
Mm.
Oh, yeah. So up to now, we're still on Grenville. Like I say, got that other private water where I've been fishing. I had a ticket for Western Park. And I've had a couple of tickets what I've turned down. I turned down Girton.
Oh, you've had a ticket for Western, have you?
I had one for Western, yeah, in 2010.
Oh, did you fish it?
I had a couple of times round it, but never fished it.
That was an expensive ticket then if you never fished it.
Yeah, 650 quid.
How come you never fished that?
It was just, it come along when I didn't think it would. And I took it because I had the money like at the time. I was sort of thinking, never really fished it.
Yeah.
Never went, and sort of a waste of a ticket, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I know another lad. You know Meadsy, don't you?
Yeah.
He had a ticket for the Sitch one year. I think it was a few years ago. I think it was about 500 quid. I think he did 48 hours on there, caught 2 fish, and then never fished it again.
Yeah.
So that was the dearest 48 hours he's ever done in his life. 250 quid a night. That was.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I got offered a Girton ticket, but I turned that down, to be honest, Dean. It was not this and the Grenville ticket and the other tickets and stuff and that. And then I just been offered last 2 seasons, the one in Lincolnshire, the Balver Castle.
Oh right, yeah. There's a lad on there using my bait on there last year. Yeah. I haven't
I
seen him
thought
this
there
year,
was.
but yeah, he had a few
Yeah.
nice. He had a few nice fish out there last year. To be fair.
Yeah, I think it's got potential, that has.
Yeah, they're growing, aren't they? It's up and coming. That
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what it is with me, Dean, is I don't do lots of fishing, and I
No.
think it,
Well, I don't think I've ever known you do as little fishing as what you've done since you've been using my bait.
I know, yeah, probably since I've used your bait, I have for other things, moving house, this, that, and other
Yeah.
done the least.
I mean, you have caught on Grenville, haven't you, using my bait? I think you
Oh yeah,
caught on it
caught,
last year, didn't you?
yeah. For how many nights I've done, I've caught every not every time, but I've not thinking I've caught on all the bait what I've used from you, had off you.
Yeah.
And what when I look then, like, oh, I've caught them fish, and I have a look what else is being caught. There hasn't been a lot being caught.
Yeah. Like you say, you've got to take everything into consideration, haven't you?
Mm. So that's how
I
I'm.
think your biggest enemy at the moment, mate, is you just need to get some more time do some more fishing, don't you?
Yeah, that's all it is. It could change anything. Sort of, how could I say, if I turned up down here fishing Tuesday and Wednesday, anything, come down with 5 kilo, chop it up and that, spam it out or whatever I do. It could be a different thing. Just them 2 nights in the week can make an hell of a difference on here.
Yeah.
But it isn't. It is a tricky water. It isn't easy. It isn't hard. It's sort of. It's
Yeah.
sort of.
It's a bit of an in between, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not what people who don't know think it is.
Yeah. Which
But
often is the case on a lot of waters, isn't it?
yeah,
You
there's
know,
some.
waters get reputations for this, that, and the other, same as everything does, and the reality is usually quite a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You know,
It,
I mean, I can remember, you know, even as little back as 10 years ago when people were still talking about Trentham as an easy water. And it's the same as Grenville. It's not an easy water and it's not an hard water, but you've got work at it. So if you want catch outs there consistently,
that's it. Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's a big water. It's the same size as Grenville. Less fish in there
Yeah.
than there's in Grenville, but it's shallower.
Yeah.
But, you know,
That's
they're
it.
catchable. They're catchable if you know where they are,
Yeah.
you know.
You sort of. It's like all the time. I'm sort of when I'm here. I like watching the water, and it's sort of now like I didn't want to move because I felt it wasn't right to move swims, but the last time I was down a few weeks ago, I thought I got moved. It was sort of tea time. I'd seen fish the other end of the lake, watched them through the binoculars, and they looked quite close in. And I had to move, but it's your effort and everything, I think, as well.
Yeah.
It was like, because on here, you have to, when you move swims, you have to pack up as if you're going home. So you've got to pack up, go back to the car park, then you have to go walk around the lake again.
Yeah.
Which is, if you walk all the way around, it's almost 2 miles.
Yeah.
And but it's what people make it how you want your fishing. I'm limited time.
You only get out what you put in, don't you, with fishing? You know.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
You get lucky now and again on places, but you only get out what you put in, don't you, in general, with anything.
Yeah, I think if you put a bit of hard work into it, I think you can have some good results.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's just sort of
Well,
it
anyway,
all comes into place.
Yeah. We've certainly chatted for a while, and we've had a bit of a walk through the ages about your fishing. So
Yeah, that's it.
maybe we'll come back on, mate, and have another chat about something else at some point. But I just thank you for coming on, mate. Just thank you for coming on. We'll see how this goes down with the first podcast I've done. So
yeah, I've enjoyed, to be honest, going through.
Yeah.
It's nice
to hear a bit of the history of the anglers, you know.
Yeah,
So,
there's probably some waters what I forgot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But it's just like telling you now. I'm looking back, I'm thinking, yeah, I can remember that, or yeah, because I've got all my photo albums. See, I've got every photo going, so I'm thinking now, yeah, I can remember that. I can see it written down, 1994. Do you know what I mean? £21, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's been good to catch up and go through it all.
Yeah. Well, I just thought just nice to hear a bit about your background, your fishing and what. Because I mean, let's be honest, scientific baits is relatively unknown, isn't it? I mean, you're an unknown angler to the vast majority of people, apart from the people who know you. So
yeah,
it's just nice to hear a bit. It's just nice to hear a bit about some pretty much run of the mill blokes who are, you know, pretty successful anglers.
Yeah, and like I say, and I enjoy using the bait, and it's sort of, well, that's me fishing now. I enjoy fishing that bait, your bait, and that, and hopefully this season, next season, I'm hoping it's going to produce some big fish.
Hopefully, you can realise your dreams on there, mate. And that's it. We'll wrap it up there, mate. All right, Matt. Nice talking to you, pal. Bye, mate.
You, mate.
Bye, mate.
Ciao, mate. Ciao.